Thank you for coming back, by the way. I'm going to start this YouTube style this time. Thank you for watching, viewing, subscribing. And if you're not subscribed, what are you doing? You should be. So make sure you are. I'm here today with a friend of mine, Julian Fortunato. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, like right now we're just shooting the shit. So let people know what you do. Because what do you really do these days?
I asked myself that question. So I own a construction company. And then, we have other like side little businesses that do their thing. And then the other big thing would be we flip houses, me and my wife. So, which you saw one of our houses. So, that's kind of the big thing. That's kind of like the way we're going, the direction, because it's a lot easier, construction. I got to deal with people, clients, and that's a whole different game on itself versus, oh, hey, I know this house is a good deal. I'll go pick up this house. I'll be there 3 months and then I'm out. Mm-hmm. And, you can make 30, 40, 50,000 or more depending on the deal, So that's where we're at right now.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. When you told me you were doing that, I'm like, you sneaky motherfucker. I was like, that's cool. Cause I mean, I've been trying to do one with a guy in, where is it? He's more based out of Michigan because they're smaller buy-ins for that. But you have an interesting way that you go about it where you get basically almost everything financed, even down to the 20%. You can find investors for that as well. Are you finding that hard to find investors for that?
Well, yes and no. So, when you start, you have to have a track record, right? Nobody wants to give anybody money if they think they're going to lose, right? So the way it kind of started was me and my wife, we moved here like a year and a half, 2 years ago. We picked up a house that was owned by a company that was foreclosed upon. We completely fixed that and we sold that one. So, it was getting out of that comfortability of like, oh, hey, you're hitting your 30s, you need to have a home, you need to start having kids, you need to start doing this. And now we're going against all that. We're like, oh, we're going to get rid of our primary house. And we're doing the opposite of what everybody's telling us to do. So we did that. And then with that, in a year's time, it was such a big win that it was able to be leveraged. Now we can go and say, hey, look, listen, we have a proven track record. We got one. We did really good on this one. Give us some money and let's move on to another one. So we took some money, then we moved it into the second one. And I wasn't able to get 20% covered. I had to put some money in. I partnered with a friend of mine and we went half on that. And then we got an investor cover about like 70K of it. But now you have two. Mm-hmm. So now you say, hey, listen, can you bump up your investment? Or you able to go get more investors? So the concept is exactly what you said. Get somebody to cover that 20%. And if you could go above that and get the remodeling covered, even better. Because everything has fees, right? Everything has interest, that you're paying on that loan. So I'm paying the bank on their hard money 8%. So that's 8%. Then I got to pay the investor 10%. So that's all money I'm leaving on the table, in the deal. So you got to make sure that it works so you're able to make sure you get everybody's money back and then you make your little bit,
Yeah. So with the investor for the 20% part, is that 10% once it's sold or is that 10% per annum, 10% per month? What is it?
10% once it's sold. So basically same way the hard money is. So they give you the money for the year, right? They'll give you a loan for the year. Our concept is we want to be out maximum by 5 months.
Yeah.
So now you got to think, okay, what happens if you're not out by 5 months? So now, because people start getting antsy, well, where's my money, So what we do to protect our investors is if 5 months we don't get the house sold, we'll refinance the house. We end up keeping it and renting it out, but we got the money back. So now we give the investors money so we can roll it into another deal. Mm-hmm. So for us, it's like a win-win. If I don't sell the house, I'm just going to keep it and rent it out. So now I'm getting cash flow, but I got my money back out. So now I can go get another one and just keep continuing. And that's the ultimate goal.
Yeah. For sure. So when you say you get a house, then you decide, we're going to, what do you call it? You're going to rent it out. Mm-hmm. Do you just refi it with a bank then and away from the hard money Is that typically the thing you do? Because all this stuff is super freaking new to me.
Yeah.
I mean, we've chatted a bit about it, but it's so much like over the head.
Yeah. It's definitely a lot of information, right? So, and it's very hard to learn it because nobody's just willingly like trying to help people out, you know? And that's the thing is like, you have to get people around people you trust to get that information, right? So, let's say you have the hard money, you borrowed the 20%, so you want to get out and rent it and then pay back the investors in the hard money loan. You essentially would go to like a bank, any bank really, who's going to give you the best rate, obviously. And you're just going to say, hey, listen, I own this property. It's already rented out. It's already rehabbed. I want to keep it. So I want to refinance what my loan is now and see how much it'll appraise for. So ideally, a quick way to figure it out if it works is you take your purchase price, you add your rehab to that purchase price, and then you add 30% to that. So then when you get that number, you subtract by 80% because that's roughly what the bank is going to give you. And then if that number works and pays back the rehab, pays back the loan, and pays back your investor's profit, and you're left with a little chunk, you're good. You won.
Run me through that again. That was a lot of numbers. So go from the very beginning. Like as soon as you started numbers, I'm like, shit, my brain wanted to figure it out, but I was like, fuck, he's going too fast.
Yeah. So you get your purchase price.
Yep.
You take your purchase price plus your rehab. So
Okay.
let's say you buy the house for $500 and you add a $100,000 rehab. So you're at $600. Take that $600 and you add 30%, right? So now that total number you're going to take and you're going to subtract it by 80%. That's what the bank should be giving you.
Okay.
So for your appraised value and everything.
Okay, so you reappraise it. Okay,
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's going to appraise for that total rehab plus that 30%. That's ideally the goal. And then you're going to subtract that 80. Now that's what you're left with. So that number needs to pay back all those things.
Gotcha.
So if it pays back all those things and you're left with a little chunk, then great, you win. You know, you have the property, you paid everybody back, and you get to keep it. And now you get the cash flow plus the appreciation of the asset.
Yeah, okay. And are you finding is renting in this area beneficial, or is because I always hear just Airbnb it. Obviously, outside of busy season, that might not be as profitable. But do you find that renting it here all year round is still possible for a decent premium?
I think it's your peace of mind, and that's what's priceless, right? So Airbnb is great, and I do have strategies that I want to eventually get Airbnbs, you know, being like we're so young, you know, we can deal with the headaches, you know, we can figure it out. But do you really want to deal with every 3 days somebody coming in and staying in the property and getting somebody to clean it and doing that? And you know what I'm saying? So it's just more of your risk management of what you want to deal with, right? So really when you're burring a property, you're probably only making $300 per door. It's not like you're going to be a millionaire overnight, you know, like, and people think that, you know, they're like, oh my God, you're flipping houses. Oh my God, you know, you're getting rentals. Oh, you must make millions of dollars. It doesn't work out that way. You know, it takes time to build that to that scale. So one of me and my wife's mentors, they said, it's not a get rich quick scheme. It's a get rich for sure.
Ah, okay.
So that's the thing is you got to think, okay, let's say if your expenses are 10 grand a month and you're making $300 a door, how many doors do you need to get 10 grand a month? You see? So you get 30 doors and you're there, right? So, but now the big key is you're just sitting on these houses that are appreciating over time. Imagine if you bought a house in Naples 5 years ago.
Well, I just had someone on the podcast and he said he bought his house in 2018 or 2019 and it's already doubled.
Yeah. My primary house, we got it for, I think, $270 and we ended up selling it for $542 in a year's time.
Jeez.
With the whole COVID thing.
I think the best time to buy was like early 2020.
Yeah. And that's when we bought. Like right at that point. Like right when nobody knew what was happening with COVID.
Yep.
Like, oh, are we going to shut down? Are we not going to shut down? And no one was buying anything. I was like, now's the time to buy.
Yeah.
And my wife played it perfectly. She found this house. It was honestly like the hand of God. Like it was a random call. You know, she got a call for this house. The lady says, I want to see it. whatever. Well, we get like almost 20 minutes from the house, and the lady calls and says, "Oh, I can't afford it. I don't want to see it anymore." So we're like, "What?" And this is a random lady. We don't even know how she got my wife's number.
Uh-huh.
So we're like, "Oh, okay, whatever. Well, we're already here, so let's check it out, right?" I was actually under contract for another house.
All right.
In Ave Maria.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, man, this is super far from Naples. I don't know if I want to pull the trigger on this. Well, we find this house a little bit closer in town. And then we walked in and we said, oh, no, this is it. Like, this is the one.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife put an offer on it, and we got it. And history,
It was done.
Yeah. And that's what propelled us forward, And that's all it takes is that, like, one deal, that one client, that one thing that allows you to propel your life a little bit more forward, you know? Because life is hard for everybody, So you got to find this one thing that allows you to get a little bit ahead, so then you can take advantage and move forward in different directions.
Yeah. So how many houses have you flipped now?
We're buying one rental right now that we put in an offer in today, I think.
And are you rehabbing that at all, or just buying and renting?
Honestly, I'm in debate. So I got to see what it's going to appraise at if it's remodeled versus if I leave it and just do like minor touch-ups.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's really not in bad shape. It's a beautiful house. But the rents are like stupid.
Yeah.
Stupid rents. Like $3,000, $3,500 a month,
Yeah.
And so it's just like when you get those areas, you got to start accumulating them. But ideally, I want to keep the rehab to a minimum, like maybe like 10,000, 20,000 tops. Like paint, do kitchen, call it a day, and just be done with it.
Yeah, less is more.
Yeah,
because it doesn't really. I wouldn't imagine it would increase the rent that much, in terms of how much you renovate it.
Yeah, you're not really increasing the rent by much. What you're trying to do is increase the appraised value. So you get that money back to pay back those investors.
Okay.
So, and that's the thing is appraisers are funny, man. Like, I don't like appraisers because they're strange. They do their own kind of thing, and like they have their own systems of how they calculate the house's worth. Like, we had a house where, the other pools in the area were concrete and ours was fiberglass. And it's like, okay, but it's a pool, coming from Miami, I don't know the difference. A pool's a pool. We're just happy to have one, right? And so they're like, oh, but that's like $40,000 less, like on your appraised value. I'm like, what? I'm like, it's a pool.
Did he explain why?
It's just the value because of the construction of the pool. A fiberglass is just much cheaper, and you can have potentially more problems with it. So that's kind of the description that they gave. So
really?
Yeah, because a concrete pool, you're paying like up here in Naples, you're paying like $80,000.
But surely, like, bring that close to you, by the way. Like right within about an inch from your mouth.
Right there?
Even closer, baby. I thought that replacing a fiberglass would be much cheaper than a concrete, though, no?
Yeah, the fiberglass is much cheaper.
So why would it affect it that much? Because I feel like the liability of the concrete one's way bigger.
Honestly, I have no idea. You're speaking like, when he said it to me, I just like, I couldn't even believe it. I was just like, really? Like, it's that much of a big deal for people. And apparently it is, that's just what it is. So when you have those connections, they are able to help you and tell you, hey, listen, do this instead of this, and you'll get more appraised value. Because he literally told me, dude, the house is gorgeous on the inside, but if you would have switched this to a concrete pool for $30,000 and did less work inside, he's like, it would have probably appraised for more. I'm like, what? Like, because you think as an individual, oh, I just want the inside of the house to look fantastic because that's where I'm staying 90% of the time, right? And no, that's not how they appraise it. It's the property as a whole,
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you're better off doing the pool than the house. Okay. That's something you don't hear every day.
Right.
Because we're seeing right now, like, I mean, we're concerned because there's a crack in the pool at our house. And the thought of having to fix that, no. So my wife thought we were in a sinkhole. I'm like, I don't think it's a sinkhole, but
no. The house would be gone.
Yeah, we'd be in trouble. But it's okay. So you typically will buy the house, reappraise it, and then refi it. So you're really just constantly building your wealth without actually having your own money in a way.
Kind of, like I said, for the most part, we have put some money in.
Yeah.
So it's not 100% all our money, and it's not 100% investors' money. But as that number increases, like I said, so I think we're going on 3. The third one is going to be a rental, more than likely. And then we're probably going to do 2 flips at a time. So we'll be going on our 5th house.
Okay.
And in less than a year.
Yeah, wow.
So that's kind of the goal.
Mm-hmm.
Ideally, I would want to get to the point to doing as much as possible. But again, you got to think, rehabs are expensive, and it just depends on how much money you have available to you. If you have an investor that has, $500,000, well, then go crazy, Right now, we're working with probably like maybe $250,000, 200,000, 170, something like that we're just putting into different deals and stuff. So as that continues to grow and that number grows, and as we gain more traction, then obviously we'll be able to do more deals, better deals, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, okay. And how many houses is like your goal to be running at one time? What would be that number where you're like, whoo, okay, we're doing good?
Honestly, to be honest, I don't really care about the flips too much.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why, because you could tell me, okay, yeah, you could do whatever number of flips and it'll make you $1 million a year, let's say. But I have to work and do those flips to get that $1 million. You know what I'm saying? So my only goal is to do just as many as I can so I can get that money and go get more rentals, right? Mm-hmm. So then that way I have my income covered and I don't have to really work, as much or as often. But I mean, what I would want to say is ideally, like, if I could get, 10 to 15,000 a month from rentals, that would be a game changer.
That'd be big time. That's 6 figures doing nothing.
Yeah, that would be my goal, is 10, 15,000. So going back to, if it's $300 a door, 30 doors, right? So if I could get there as quick as possible, that would make me feel like a lot better,
So is it really only about 300 a door? Because I've heard some places are like 1,000 a month.
So their money is probably tied in the deal, right? So like I can go buy any house right now and rent it out, and I can go make 600, 1,000 a door. But what they don't calculate is, okay, my 50 grand is stuck in that house. Mm-hmm. How long till I get my 50 grand back?
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? I'm getting my money back in 5 months, tops. So now,
that makes a big difference.
Exactly. And when I say that $300 a door, really I'm making more, but that money gets cut into property maintenance fees, vacancy. What else you have? Vacancy, property management, miscellaneous items if things break. You know what I'm saying? So that's also in that cost. So let's say the year's up at the end of the year and nothing broke, and your property management came in cheaper, that's all money you get to keep at the end. But the big thing is your tax deductions. I hear people that they get huge tax deductions.
Really?
Yeah. Like I think one guy told me he was claiming $10,000 per rental. So he had 10. So he was taking $100,000 off his income every year. I was like, what? I'm like, that's crazy. So he was making like $300,000, $400,000 a year, but he was only paying taxes on $300,000 or $200,000 of it.
Yeah, that's wild.
That changes the game.
That's the part we always forget, is the tax deductions. And you were, because what's the thing? I've been seeing a few things popping up now about cars, and everyone's talking about, claiming back your car. They use it in social media, so they're marketing the lifestyle, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And they can claim back up to 100%.
So the car, the law is mine. I'm not an accountant.
Your interpretation.
Yeah, my interpretation.
This is not financial advice, people.
Yeah, not financial advice at all. But if the car is over 6,000 pounds, you can claim the total amount of the car the first year. So from my interpretation of it, it's like, okay, if the car's $100,000 and it's over 6,000 pounds, you can take that $100,000 off your taxes. So that's why you see those guys come in at the end of the year and they say, oh, well, I'm going to get a big tax bill, so I'm going to buy this car for my wife or whatever, and just have it for a year and then they'll sell it, So you have things like that. I mean, like I don't know if you know Grant Cardone.
He did his jet.
He did his jet.
$200 million jet.
Yeah. So it's like, what? Like, and then I saw a podcast he was on, and he said, I had my taxes paid for that year, the following year, and then half of the third year. I'm like, Jesus Christ. I'm like, could you imagine you don't have to pay taxes for that long just because you made a purchase, you know?
It's pretty good.
Yeah. But again, that's the knowledge. Once you increase your income, he's around different types of people than we are. You know, that's the reality, right? So he's getting connected with these top level players, and he gets that information, right?
Yeah.
And he knows how to play the game at a bigger scale.
And it's obviously illegal because he would not be telling everyone openly about it.
Yeah, no, of course. And that's the thing is like, and then you have the other side of the spectrum where people are like, oh my God, you're scamming us, you know, like you're not paying your taxes. And no, the reality is like, you got to think, for the most part, they're creating tons of jobs, right? Mm-hmm. They're creating tons of jobs, creating housing, you know, where I rent now, Grant Cardone owns the building.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He owns the building. So I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ, you know, I can't escape the guy, you know? So I pay rent at his building, right? And let's figure it like this. You know, now I think they raised the one bedroom for $2,200 a month. Mm. So let's say all the buildings was one bedroom, right? And there's 400 units in there.
Whoa. That's all.
Imagine, you know? So he just created housing for 400 people, right? So you got to think about it in that aspect. You know, you're providing value to the neighborhood, you know, because it's a good building, it's a nice building, you know, so everything around it generally is going to be nicer, right? You know, if you go to a duplex or a street where there's duplexes everywhere, they're generally not in great areas, right? And you're going to pay probably close to just as much rent, but you don't get all the amenities, you know, and you don't get all that stuff. You know, you're probably going to, like, for instance, this house I'm going to rent, it's not in the best area, you know what I'm saying? But people are paying $3,000, $3,500 a month. I'm not even paying that. And I have the same size, 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom.
Yeah. Is that because your lease? Because I heard that was as leases are ending, that's when they're starting to hike up. Is that, or is that just because it's the house versus apartment?
So,
because you guys step down and into a, I do this because like, it's funny that people are like, oh, living in apartments a step down. I'm like, sometimes you're closer to stuff that you need.
Yeah. Well, I always say like, you do what's best for you, you know? And like, people come to us all the time, my wife, and they say, well, when's a good time to buy a house? Is the market going to crash? Is this going to happen? Nobody knows, right? Yeah. You buy the house when you need it, not when it's convenient, you know? So everybody worries about the interest rates and stuff. As long as you can afford it, that's all that matters. Period, the end. It doesn't matter if you have a 10%, a 7%, a 2%. If you can afford it at the time you need that house and it's what you want, by all means, go for it, you know? So I think there's just this interpretation, like you said, you know, oh, you're in an apartment. Oh, that's less than if you don't own a home. And it's just a completely backwards way of thinking. Like, don't get me wrong. I love having a home. It's awesome. But there also is conveniences with an apartment. Yeah. Like, I remember when my AC would go out, guess what? I got to go fix it, or I got to call somebody to fix it. Here, I'm like, I don't even do anything. Oh, hey, my fridge, I need the filter fixed. Okay, no problem. They come and fix it. You know what I'm saying? So there's a level of convenience. Now, going back to the prices going up, I think, don't quote me, but I think there's a rule that they can only take it up 20% per year at the end of your lease. So let's say you're paying $2,600. That means 20%, you're going to be paying $3,000 at the end of the year.
Yeah, still a lot.
Yeah,
no one's getting a 20% pay rise.
Well, that's the issue. So, like in my case, my income doesn't rely on anybody, right? I don't have a job. So I control that, right? I can make as much money as I want or as little as money as I want. Yeah. Now, you hear people that are living there and they have a job and they got a raise of 2%, but you have inflation at like, what at is 8. It now? It's 8 now? Like, it's like, yeah, well, you didn't really get a raise, buddy. Like, you know, you're losing money at this point.
It is funny. I saw a meme on that, and some guy was like, even when inflation is not big, he was using the example of, hey, you did a great job. We'll give you a $1,000 pay rise. So you went from 50 to 51,000. He's like, great, but inflation was 2%, and that's $1,000. Yeah. So really, you haven't given me a pay rise. And the guy's like, shut up.
Yeah, I mean, and then that's the thing is like, they try to pass it off like they're doing you a favor.
Mm.
It's like, no.
Yeah.
No, like, what are you
Meanwhile,
talking
the business has grown 15%.
Yeah. So that's the thing. I think, people are starting to become more aware of how certain industries are taken advantage of. And now people are starting to realize that's why they love working at home now.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to go back to the office. Productivity's up, people don't have to leave their kids. It's just more convenient. So they don't mind that difference of pay right now, especially when it's a 2-income household, right? So that helps. But, let's say if me and you were single, right? And you had to go work at a job, you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
Especially starting out. Like if we were like 5 years younger, 10 years younger, we're in trouble. Like the game has shifted big time for the younger generation, like coming out of high school and college. It's definitely, it's never been easy, but it's definitely not easier, so that's where you're seeing all those people stay at home till like 30, 40. I think I read the average age to leave their parents' house now is 38.
I believe that. We live at the in-laws vacation home because it's like, everything's hiked. I'm just trying to, again, starting a business out of nowhere. It's like, it's been a real adjustment. And starting a family.
Yeah.
So like, it's basically a single working family. It's been a lot in one hit, where it is just sort of like, holy shit.
Yeah, and it's a lot of emotions too.
Whew. Yeah.
A lot of emotions.
Yeah, mixed with an 7.5, 8 month year old trying to figure out everything, and it's a trip.
Yeah,
but it's cool. I mean, I'm meeting heaps of people here, which is cool. Like, there's a lot of interesting people that, just finding out what's available. But real estate seems to be the one that everyone in this area, like, you can throw a stone and hit like 10 realtors.
I think that's pretty much everywhere, because like Miami is like that. Miami, I think they have like 300 agents new a week.
What? That many a week?
It's something ridiculous like that.
Sheesh, because I've heard even in this county there's like 8,000 realtors or something like that.
Yeah, it's crazy. But then the thing is this is where the problem lies, right? Who's the good ones? Right? There's hundreds of construction guys, but who are the good ones?
Yeah.
Because I could tell you countless of stories where, somebody came in, said, I'm going to do your kitchen, took the deposit, and disappeared. And realtors, they all get paid the same, right? They all get their 3%. So how do you value one better than the other? They all have access to the MLS, and they all have the same pay. So how do you judge this person's better than this person, right?
Yeah.
And that's, I think, where your business comes in, right? You start creating that relationship through social media. And that's where it clicks. I see this face, I trust this face, and I want to continue to use this face for my personal deals, right?
Yeah.
So that's where that lies, because there's a lot of bad agents out there.
And they also hide. They just hide behind a pamphlet. They hide behind every time I get a pamphlet in the mail, I'm just like, dude, the amount of money you're spending on these things, just give me that money and let me do something better, because it's just so much. And same with like billboards. The billboards baffle me, the amount people pay for billboards. I found out recently, I was like, $8,000.
Yeah.
What? 10 grand? What?
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, if you have that budget and you have 3, give me 2 of those billboards, and I'll make you known America wide.
Yeah.
Not just on the 75.
Yeah. The thing is here, the mentality is a lot older, right? So, Naples has most millionaires per capita. That's what I heard.
I believe that.
It's
also got the average age of 68 or something.
Yeah. So it's like all these people come from a different time of doing business, right? And what I've noticed is here, when you come young, they don't really think you know what you're doing, right? They don't understand that we can reach 10,000 people in a day versus their 100 in a year.
Yeah.
Right? They don't grasp that concept.
Yeah. Well, I was at a thing for, and this guy was trying to pitch snail mail, like little pamphlet stuff. And he was doing the prices, and I said, hey, I just want to know what's the benefit of that over, because they're talking about impressions, like how many letter drops. And I go, I can get that for that price. I can get 48 times higher than that in impressions, if that's what you're gauging it off.
Yeah.
And like everyone in the room's like, And they still didn't believe me. I'm like, bro, it's the internet. It's scalable. It's so easy to get more people to see you.
Yeah. The only thing, like for you, if I was you, like to deal with these types of people, I would just tell them, listen, I'll do it for free, but I want 15% of whatever you're bringing in. And then you'll see that 15% is worth a lot more than what you would have charged.
100%.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then, because I was watching a video where the guy talks about, hey, I'll make you an ad, right? And I'll charge you $1,000. Well, the guy's like, oh, well, I don't want to pay $1,000. I think that's too much. Of course, you know, everybody's like, oh, I think that's too much.
Even though a TV ad's like half a million or something.
Yeah, nobody grasps the concept, right? So, okay, $1,000, right? I don't want to pay it. Okay, I'll tell you what. We'll split it. I'll do it for free, but we split the profit 50-50, only on new customers. Well, he's like, oh. And he's like, well, what's the objection now? He's like, well, I'm scared you're going to make a banger video, and then that 50% is going to be more than that 1,000. And the guy tells him, well, yeah, it is. So it's either you pay me what I'm worth, the 1,000, or I'll take half your profit for doing the work for free. So, you know, it's just kind of like getting them to understand and see that there's a huge upside potential with social media and things if it's used the right way, right?
Yeah.
So once you get one person, I think that person will vouch for you, and so on and so forth. It's just the type of environment we're in here in Naples. It's a very old way of thinking.
Yeah. And that's been the biggest thing and that's why I'm trying to start at least like a younger culture sort of group. I've joked around with Stace. We're like called like the group could be like Make Naples Young Again.
Oh God.
We won't. You know, so it's funny. My best mate's become like my mentor.
Yeah.
Because he started his business now. Like his ad spend alone is like $300 to $400K a month. You know, for his new business, and it turns back 4x.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's like I shared with you that one guy, Ryan Pineda, the real estate guy. He spends $40,000 a month, and that's not even on ad spend.
Yeah, that's just on normal creativity.
That's just on creativity of marketing on social media. It's like, imagine what you can accomplish with $40K a month just set aside for marketing.
Yeah,
on social media. I mean, like you're bound to grow your business,
and it comes back so much. Yeah, like everything's consistency as well. You know, like you do videos across all these platforms. You got TikTok, YouTube Shorts, which is popping off now. Like YouTube Shorts is really ripping off TikTok, but in a good way. Right. You can tap into YouTube as well. So you can get a video now where, you know how you do like the reacts on TikTok?
Okay, yeah.
Where it's like they've got the split screen. I think it's called, I always forget the name. It's like Dual or something. And you're like reacting to the person's TikTok.
Right.
You can take snippets from YouTube now and do a react in a short form for that as well. So you got YouTube's library you can access. So
oh my God,
they're tapping in real big, and like we've already had 25,000 plus views on YouTube Shorts for the podcast in a month, and we're only doing one a day. Like I want to ramp it up to 2-3 a day. As I get more clients, same thing. I'll be just basically reinvest, so that getting that attention will eventually draw people in to be like, huh, what does he do?
Yeah.
Oh, he does marketing. Makes sense.
Yeah.
But same as like, there's a cement mixer. They just brought in 100K from TikTok because someone saw their content, was like, oh, you mix cement.
Yeah.
Let's sign the contract, you know? And so, yeah, it's kind of cool seeing that as if I can get more people that are in the trades who are young enough who get it to invest, I think their business is going to be a huge change.
The way that like you could simplify it would be, it's like, okay, we're friends. I know you do marketing. I know I do construction. Mm-hmm. Whenever you have something, what do? You're always going to recommend your friend, right? So like I just had a friend, he called me the other day. He said, hey, listen, there's this building. They need a roof. You want to do it? This is a $400,000 roof. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah, of course I want to do it. So it's the same thing. You're putting yourself out there online to make friends with these people so that when something comes up, they say, oh, hey, I like that guy from social media. You know what? I'm going to use him. And they signed that contract.
Yeah.
You know, and then that's how you make those relationships and you move forward with that.
100%. I'm seeing that even with the podcast. I mean, it's definitely a loss leader right now for me, but people see the clips and it's like, I've got people in, you know, Naples, people in Estero starting to follow me, because I always check the followers, because it's like, is it a bot? Is it someone trying to sell me a sex tape? Is it someone trying to, someone trying to sell me crypto?
Yeah, I know, it's always somebody. Yeah.
Or is it someone trying to sell me a sex tape on the blockchain? I don't know.
Yeah.
So now it's like, I'm seeing the more that I'm doing these clips, I'm just getting more people. Like, I'm networking without even meeting them.
Yeah.
Organically.
Yeah.
And then when I see, they do this, I don't hit them up and be like, hey, how you going? I do videos. It's, let's just start that conversation. Like you and I, we keep in contact through Instagram.
Yeah.
You touch base, like you do your, like you post on a story,
Yeah.
I respond to it, you know, if it's good. If it's not good, I probably won't. But
Yeah.
But, and same as vice versa. It, like Instagram in particular is such a good touch point and relationship keeper. I mean, without Instagram, without Facebook Messenger, dude, I don't know when I would have spoken to my friends last in Australia.
Really?
Because it just makes it so much easier. Whereas I've got touch points with my friends literally daily.
Right.
And it's nothing crazy deep, just like haha, or you know.
Yeah, it's like, you know, I always
something.
laugh at the comedians you post on Instagram. So, you know, I get a laugh and I'm like, send them a laugh, you know? Like, and it keeps you there. It keeps people present. So I get what you're saying. So then that way you can say, oh, hey, by the way, man, you know, I have this person here who's interested in doing this, you know, and then you get business. And that's what I think it's going to be like for you. Right. So like you need just one person, right? We were talking about this earlier. You just need one person to say, hey, you know,
let's roll.
Oh yeah, let's roll. I have a $20,000 budget a month, you know? So, and then that propels you forward, you know, and it's the same thing. Like, you know, you're trying to do the real estate stuff, you know, and I think it's really smart. Like there's a lot of places besides Florida where you can get like really good real estate. My friend just showed me a 20 unit building, like in the middle of nowhere, and it's like 600 grand. I'm like, what? And like, you know, you're cash flowing like $2,000 a month.
Yeah. Wow.
I'm like, what? And I'm like, that's awesome. You know what I mean? Like, you know, yeah, it's in the middle of nowhere. The rent is whatever. But if it's in a prime enough area where you're like on the outside of something growing, like Naples, you know, no one ever thought Naples would be the way it is now.
Yeah.
You know, Naples was nothing before.
Yeah.
You know, Fort Lauderdale was nothing before. I remember where my parents lived, their condo, when they first bought it, I think it was like $40,000 or $50,000. Now those condos are $300,000.
Yeah.
You know,
well, you got to factor in. I found out, when did they buy it, by the way? Before the 70s?
No, I'm 26. So they probably bought it a couple years before I was born. So probably maybe the 80s.
So I was looking at I just got fascinated with inflation at one point, like a few weeks ago, and I was looking through because I saw a meme basically that if you had $7.80 in the 40s, you'd have $100 now. So basically, like, if a house is 10 times the price, or probably more, it's like probably 12 times the price of what it was back in the 40s, it's not that impressive, because that's how money has depreciated.
Right.
And so I went through a little rabbit hole like you do, and I was going through the sort of like a timeline of how money depreciated. And you look at 1970 to 1971, and I think that's around the era that Nixon changed it from the gold standard to debt. And you watched it just go, I think it was something like 30% from 70 to 71, where so if you had 100 grand, now you've got 130 a year later. I'm like, what the? That is a lot of inflation.
Yeah.
And we're freaking out about 8.
Yeah.
And the 70s were like that for like a few years, apparently.
Yeah. Well, I actually laughed because my mom, she found stuff from my grandmother, and she found a menu, right, from a restaurant, like a super, like, let's call it like a Capital Grill, right?
Yeah.
A filet mignon was like $7.
Yeah.
And this is like in the 60s, you know, or whatever, 50s, 60s, 70s. I'm like, what? Like, to just see that happen
But wages were super different though too.
Well, I talk about that all the time. Like before, you could have a family of 4 and the husband would work and the wife could stay home.
Yeah.
Now you can't do that.
That's true. You can't do that now. But you look at the wages too back then, like, you know, a solid, like if someone was in 6 figures, like they were balling.
Yeah.
Now it's like 6 figures. I mean, especially in this area, it's like 6 figures is kind of what you need. Anything less and good luck.
I think when I moved here, I think the average salary was like 90 grand.
Yeah.
The average. So that tells you it was probably your high 6 figures.
Yeah. And it's funny because I still speak to some people here and like I got big goals. I'm nowhere near them yet, but I speak to a few people, especially in the content creation space. And I mean, they're charging next to nothing. And I'm like, what are you doing? You know, like how, so they're busy because they've got a lot of work, but I'm like, dude, you're stressed out of your fucking nut because you have so much, and the editing process is so freaking slow.
Yeah.
You know, like the clips from this video, that from this podcast can take 45 minutes to do.
Right.
That's a 26-second video. You know,
yeah, it's crazy.
So like, you know, you have to charge because it's like people only see the front end of it, and then they see the final part. But there's something with holding a DSLR that people don't comprehend, that it's like, you know, that's just as good as if I walked in with a big fucking thing on my shoulder. Yeah. You know, or at least very fucking close.
Yeah.
Which is why people don't understand vloggers. They just see someone walking around and do.
Right, yeah. and again, it goes back to that, you know, they don't understand the correlation it has, right? It's the same thing in my industry. Nobody understands why, oh, this guy will charge you X to put in the floor, and this guy's charging you X. It's the same job, right? It's just, it's not the same work.
Yeah.
Right? So, and that's something that I've been like really getting on myself. Mm-hmm. Like now I've gotten into the point where I barely go and look at the job because people like to waste your time, right? Mm-hmm. That's the reality. You know, people aren't ready. People don't want to spend the money. You know, it's just, it is what it is. So I say, okay, what's the job? Oh, it's a bathroom. I've done thousands of bathrooms, right? I know how much they cost. So here's the rough price of what it's going to cost you to do your bathroom with everything you need done. Does that fit your budget? You know? And if it doesn't, it doesn't. Can you get somebody to do it for cheaper? Probably. But probably you're going to call me in a month and say, everything's destroyed. My bathroom's leaking. Yeah. In a panic, you know? And then that's the thing is like, you know, you set this standard, right? And then when I first started, I think I was making 10% off every job, right? Mm-hmm. Or 15%. Pennies. Working. My wife will tell you. She used to come and help me with some of the jobs. She'll tell you that she helped me at one house. I think I was there from 5 a.m. and I was there until 4 o'clock at night or 4 a.m. the next day. It's ridiculous. I think I did that for a week and I made $3,000. So I'm like, you know, because I wanted to get it done, right? So I wanted to get it done. I wanted to do it myself. I did everything myself. I learned how to do everything, right? And I made $3,000 in a week. And I was ecstatic for about 15 minutes that it took me to leave the job with the check and go to the bank. And then I realized, holy shit, I did 5 days from 5 to 4 every day, you know, 5 a.m. to 4 a.m., basically almost like 24 hours every day, just no sleep. And I finished in a week to make $3,000. Yeah. How do I fix this to make way more? Yeah. You know, and then that's the thing is, so now you get those systems in place, you know, and we use Buildertrend. I mentioned that to you, you know, so, you know, it's a lot of streamlining, right? So when you streamline your business, it makes it 10 times easier. Yeah. So now that money's coming in every month. And now I've done this for 7 years. So kind of everybody pretty much knows me and knows the reputation I have. So they call me and they say, hey, listen, I have this, I have that, I have this, I have that. Like, you know, like my friend, he called me and said, hey, I have a building, you know, that needs a roof, right? So can we work it out? Yeah, of course, you know. So it's things like that. Once you get to that point where everybody knows you, your business just keeps growing without having to do much. So now if you add in, you know, your social media and you're growing it now with new people that you've never connected with, your business can literally in a year's time completely change. Right.
Yeah. Attention's everything. You know, that's why celebrities, they could just accidentally pick something up and someone snaps a photo. All of a sudden, that product's sold out.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Oh,
it's remarkable.
Yeah, and it takes time too. Like, I mean, fuck, I'm failing forward with this, even with my own stuff, you know. And I think that's the tricky thing that I really deal with clients, because I could just be like, all right, we'll do this one smack bang video. It's fantastic, 10 grand. Like whatever, but that'll make me some quick money. But I'm like, I don't know. For me, I'm like, I want to be helping you the way that I believe, which is putting out a shitload of content, just constantly. Like, you should be having 1 to 2 pieces of content a day, and they don't have to be crazy productions,
right?
You know, like, but the cool thing is, I can film all that content in 1 to 2 days. Send it to my team. We edit it. We get it all done. 10 days later, you've got the next month. And that's the thing that's kind of tricky for people to comprehend, is like, this is a commitment. It's the same as losing weight. You know, when people like, when I was personal training, so how long do I have to train? I'm like, well, how long do you want to be like healthy? They're like, well, I was thinking 3 months. And I'm like, so then what? Like, what the
what happens after 3 months?
Yeah, I'm like, what's the point? You know, like, don't even start with, if your plan is 3 months, and I'm like, with fitness, for example, if your plan is 3 months, and I saw that with weddings, it was always weddings. Like, boom, 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 the girls are hitting it hard. They decide they want to lose weight in 3 months. I'm like, well, you got 20 years to overcome. And then as soon as their wedding date's done, disappeared. I'm like, I get that it's through, like, you know, what is it, through death do us part, but I'm just like, don't make that death come quicker.
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
And it's the same with the content. Like, people just go, all right. And I get you got budgets and everything, and you have, like, you know, there's a reason for that, but there should be a long-term strategy instead of just, I'll just do a few pieces of content and then I'm good. Because they disappear so fast.
But that's going back to, like, this generation, right? To me, like, this generation, I call it the microwave generation. Everybody wants everything instantly, right? So, and it doesn't work that way.
But it's people in their 50s doing this, though. They're like, all right, I just want to do one video. And I'm just like, we can. I'll do it for your website.
But it ain't going to do anything.
But it ain't going to drive, like, you need to drive people to your website.
Right.
And, like, yes, I've had success with a lot of people with that. But it is that thing of, I mean, you can have 1 or 2 videos, or maybe fucking 10 videos that don't do shit. You
Right.
find one video, pops, and the right person sees it. Then they go through the other 10 that you posted before. Now they've watched 11 pieces of content from you, and now they like you, and now they want to buy your shit.
Yeah.
Whereas, I mean, and I've been guilty in the past, like, it's usually after something goes viral that I get actually more negative than anything else.
Right.
It's the opposite. Like, people usually get negative when they don't see the numbers, but when I hit like 1 million views on a thing,
Right.
and I can't hit it again for like a month,
It
I'm
drives
like,
you crazy.
fuck this, I'm out.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm like, you're an idiot.
It's not working.
Yeah. That was years ago. So now it's like, again, this, I think I probably better not to have a piece of content that goes viral, because it does create that unattainable high.
Right.
And I find it makes people quit quicker, versus like right now, the shorts on YouTube, basically every second or third pops off to like 3,000 views.
Wow.
And then, but on my reels, every video is like 2,000 to 5,000. Some of them have 10, you know?
Right.
And I'm just like, fuck, this is just, it's marketing for so cheap. You know, like, you pay someone who has 10,000 listeners or viewers, you're going to pay a lot, versus just, all right, 10,000 people saw that. 10,000 people saw this.
Yeah.
Some of them will be valuable.
Yeah. And I think going back to like the time it takes to do things, I think it translates to everything. It translates to your business. It translates to my business. You can't expect in a year to go from 0 to like 6 figures, right? Like, it's just an unreal, like, it could be done, right? But like, don't be mad if it doesn't happen, right?
Yeah.
I see all these kids, younger kids, they start things, and literally if they didn't start making money in the first month, they're like, oh, this isn't working.
Yeah.
No, you haven't done it long enough.
Yeah.
I did what I'm doing for now 7 years, right? So I made a decision. I said, you know what? College isn't for me. You know, I can start now and start making money. So by the time that the kids that did go to college, they're finishing in 4 or 5 years from now, I already started making money.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have any debt, right?
Yeah.
So that was my perspective. So I, started early, and it worked out so far, thank God. But, it took a lot of patience, and there's a lot of frustration that comes with it. There was a lot of times where I was frustrated because, my peers were going out, having fun and doing things and doing that. And I wasn't doing that stuff. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it comes down to sacrifice. Right. And I think it's the same thing in every business, in real estate, in the flipping of the houses. Right. So now it's the same thing. We're trying to grow our investors so that way we can have more properties. Right. Same thing I mentioned to you with the Amazon store. Right. So I have the Amazon store, but if I expected to start making a profit instantly, because I put X amount of money into it, I would be like, oh my God, I lost my money because I didn't make it back in a month. Like, that's just the wrong thought process. That's not how you go into doing a business, right? It's just not going to work.
Yeah. The Amazon stuff's interesting because everyone's doing their little side hustles. Hence why we've got that big, what do they call it? The Great Resignation.
Yeah.
And no one can figure, like, it's funny watching these people instead of them going, okay, it's because of the internet, they're blaming the payouts from the government. I'm like, I don't think people are still getting paid by the government, guys. And if they are,
I don't think so.
I think yeah, they abolished that. But there's so many things happening now where you can have a side hustle. Yeah. And you can automate it to a degree. People don't want to go and work at a restaurant for $15 an hour. And then they increase it in this area in particular, like, well, we're paying $22. It's like, yeah, but I can't live within an hour of this place.
Right.
So now you want me to do a shift and I'm driving 2 hours each way. I got a fucking family, man. Right. I can't spend that time on the road, especially for that money. That it is interesting to see, like, your hustle, which is now the Amazon stuff. When you told me that, I was like, what the fuck?
Well, honestly, I don't know what the hell I'm doing either.
Yeah.
When I found out about it, I was like, what kind of witchcraft is this stuff? Like, I buy things and I don't have to do anything, and then they get to magically to someone's house. It's just a new concept, right?
It's interesting to see that drop shipping still is going well, because I always thought it would just didn't go well.
I mean, it's different now, right? So you have Amazon, they're like massive, right? They're going to take over the world. So you have the biggest company in the world online that's selling everything you need. So now I think it took a really big jump during COVID, right? Because no one was going out.
Yeah.
So now I have to get everything delivered. And now as I've gotten older, now I started streamlining things, everything, like my food. Like me and my wife, we don't cook lunch anymore. I have meals brought to the house, and lunch is done. And now I'm going to get to the point where I'm going to just say, hey, lunch and dinner is covered, because that saves how much time from cooking, cleaning, and all that. I have somebody come to my house every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, and they clean the house, right? That eliminates my wife for an hour, 2 hours cleaning the house.
Yeah.
Right? My wife's time, an hour, 2 hours, she can go make 20 grand. So why would I want my wife cleaning the house when she's good at something else, right? You have to see what you're good at, right? And your partner's good at, so that you succeed together in the right direction. So, it didn't make sense anymore. It didn't make sense anymore for us to clean the house. It didn't make sense anymore to keep cooking, because we started eating out a lot and eating unhealthy. Right? So it's going back. Do you want to live a long life, or do you want to live a short life?
Yeah.
Right? So no, we want to live long. So let's get healthy meals. Let's start eliminating certain things out of life. And that's where this whole thing came from with the Amazon thing. Cause I'm like, okay, well, now everyone's staying at home and buying products. It's convenience.
Yeah.
It's speed, right? It's efficiency. So I think that's where it comes into being successful, right? So, we're selling, like, I think fridges and protein shakes and different things like that. So, it's very minor money, but in 4 months, I think we did 120,000 in sales.
Yeah, wow.
You know, and I didn't have to do anything, right? So now I didn't make 120,000, and that's the thing is when people hear that they're like, "Oh, you must be rolling in dough." I'm like, "No, dude, I get like this much of a percent, right?"
What is the profit margin, give or take?
I mean, ideally, what they want to get you to is they want to keep you between like a 15 and like a 40%. I think that's the understanding, right? So when you first start scaling, Amazon has its like preferred stores at the top. So what they do is they keep your prices low, so your margin's very low, but you're getting a lot of orders.
Yeah.
So they want to get you up to that point where, you know, oh man, okay, we got them at a preferred store, and then they'll increase that margin, right? So then you can actually start making some serious money. So, but to me, really, it doesn't matter, right? It's money that I didn't need, that I split with a partner, right? So I mitigated my risk that way, right?
Yep.
And then now we just sit back and whatever little money that comes in, comes in. But plus on top of that, all the orders are getting supplemented by credit cards, right? So I'm getting rewards. So I'm getting cash back. You know, pretty soon I think we were talking about getting a travel card, right? So, you know, that's free vacations for us, right? You know, and different things like that. So you got to take advantage of what it provides you, right? So we're using that credit to benefit us, right? So we get the rewards. It's boosting our credit up because, I mean, imagine if you spend $120,000 on credit cards in 4 months and you paid it back in full.
Yeah.
They're like, holy shit, let's give them another one.
Yeah.
Let's give them a raise, you know, and so on and so forth. So it's just beneficial in that way. And then, yeah, you know, we're making whatever. I think the first month, I think we did like $800 profit, right? And then we did like $1,000, and then we did $1,200. And then now we just started paying ourselves back to get our return on investment, right?
Yep.
So, you know, little by little, you'll get it. But for me to have the expectation that, oh, in a year's time, I'm going to get my money back, you can't think like that.
Yeah.
You know, you just got to be patient, and you got to say, this is a business just like anything else. You can fail and you can lose your money. There is a risk to it, right? But you have to weigh out the upside, right? And that's, again, going to mitigating risk, right? So if I have a friend, you know, let's say like you and me, we find something, right? But the buy-in's 50,000, right? You could have the 50,000, but wouldn't you much rather put 25 and 25? And then that way you have like peace of mind. You still have 25 cash, and now you have a new business.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing is like a lot of the younger generation, they're like, well, I want the $1,000. I don't want to split it 500. Well, you wouldn't have had it any other way, right? So I'd rather have half of something than zero.
Yeah. I've always, because I know I was brought up more that of the fear of getting screwed over by a partner, because there's always that lingering over that. I know that, when I was growing up, it was always just do it yourself because the other person will fuck you. Like, partnerships never work out. But the older I'm getting, it's like all of the successful people have partnerships. It's just about finding the right person that you can trust.
And that's the thing is like, so, you know, I found my buddy, you know, we've been friends for a long time, and there's a lot of trust there. And, you know, so that's one thing. So that's the good thing, to have that accountability. But I always tell people when people tell me that, because I was kind of brought up the same way. Like, you know, most part I was always around people that said, oh, you know, you got to watch your back because somebody, any moment, they'll stab you in the back. Well, you go and you look at Asians, Jewish people. What do? They always help each other and their families. There's such a high respect, right? And then you have like people like us where we're like, oh no, I don't want to do business with my friend, or I don't want to do business.
I don't want to
ruin
the friendship.
It's like, what? And then they look at us and they're like, are you stupid? Like, you want your friend to win with you, you know, you want your family to win with you, right? So they have so much respect for one another that thought doesn't even cross their mind, right? That's how I see it. So that's kind of like the thing I've been mimicking, right? Is like, because, you know, what do they say? If you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to last, go as a team, or whatever they say.
What is it?
I always forget.
If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
You go together. So, so, I mean, it's right there.
Someone put that next to an Elon Musk meme. Don't know if he said it.
No, I don't think so.
I love how you used to do that, right? Great quote, put it next to someone people recognize, like, he said it. Like, I don't know if he did.
Yeah.
I don't think Einstein said what's the famous one? It's like trying the same thing over and over for expecting a different result. Is it?
Yeah.
Everyone puts it next to Einstein, but I don't think he ever said it.
Yeah, no, I don't know. We live in a weird time, man, where just people slap words with people and say, "Oh yeah, he said it." You know,
you can rewrite the truth.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, you can.
It's fantastic. I mean, I spoke in the last podcast about Kim Jong-un. He's the best at rewriting the history. First time ever playing golf, got 38 under, world record by like I think 100%.
Yeah.
He's fantastic. He's the best person. He invented the burrito.
Yeah.
But it's someone was talking about, people are going to look back and just be like, oh, this group was an idiot. The problem is it's only the people that write the most that will be left around are the people that aren't happy, versus the ones that are happy are usually out doing shit. They're not writing, I really enjoy my life.
Yeah.
So
they're too busy doing something.
Yeah, they're too busy doing shit. So it's like when I look back at the history going, oh, it was a miserable time, I'm like, but was it though? Because we're going off what was written and what we could see.
Right.
500-600 years ago. Like now I think it's probably better now for sure, but I wonder,
was it so bad? Yeah.
Because you only ever hear about, like, I remember, look at the history, if we look forward about the last 10 presidents. We're only going to remember the bad stuff.
Yeah.
Because that's whatever, like, shit, if you're going off what the news says, it's terrible.
Yeah.
The world's falling apart.
Yeah, we're all going to die, there's going to be, they just came out the other day, I think, saying, like, be prepared because there's going to be food shortages. There's not going to be.
It's always doomsday, isn't it?
I'm like, oh. And that's what I tell my wife all the time. I'm like, wait.
Yeah.
Wait for people to actually, like, you saw how people panicked with COVID, Everybody went and started buying toilet paper. Everybody started buying that. And it's like, and then people started getting mad now that we have shortages, with all this trucking crisis and all that stuff, that they go and I think, what is it? There's like no cream cheese on the shelves in Publix.
Really?
Yeah, like barely.
Cream cheese is good though. I can understand that. Toilet paper, I mean, you just use a leaf.
Yeah, but imagine not having the option of the 10 different cream cheeses that you had before for the last 30 years.
America does have too many options.
Yeah.
Way too many.
Yeah.
Stacey didn't notice that until she came back to America for the first time. Because I said to her, I'm like, you guys need to chill the fuck out with all your options.
Right.
Like more than 3, my brain just short circuits and I choose none. And it wasn't it wasn't until we went to I think it was Sam's Club, and I go to Stacey, I'm like, dude, this is way overwhelming. She's like, yeah, you're right, I didn't notice that. Because it's just, that's why I prefer shopping online, because you don't see something by chance. You just buy what you know you need, and then you save money on multiple avenues, because there's no like, oh, that's on special, oh, that's on sale, ooh, I feel like that today. No, I don't.
Yeah. And my wife noticed that. Because she did, the other day, she put a list, right, on the computer. She did it, add to checkout, and then she decided, oh, I'm going to go to the store. Well, she left it open. So when she came back, she compared the receipts. She spent like $100 more. And it's like, holy shit, if you do this every single time, it's going to add up.
And that would have been, hour and a half out of her time.
Yeah.
Driving, I always say, like, when it's a $15 fee, I'm like, if it's a half an hour drive, you're probably fucking saving. You're probably spending the same money in gas, depending. You got a truck, so you're probably paying.
Oh God, don't even bring up my truck. Like, I'm like crying every day. I stick the gas in it, man. Well, I think I'm at like 100, 110 again. Dude, every time.
My truck when I had the in-laws one was the same. It was like 100 to fill up, and I'm like, what? Change, and now it's like 50 to 60 on a bad day.
Yeah.
I'm just fuck
I used to put 50 in my truck when I first got it.
That would be nice.
I'm double.
Yeah. That whole gas thing's weird though. You guys call it gas, it's petrol though for me. But it's all a bullshit. It's all a fucking Ponzi scheme.
Of course, it's a business.
It's the biggest bullshit. Where I remember back in the day when I was learning, one, how does a commodity change day to day? That's my first thing with the thing. It's like, well, because the market went up, why is it always goes up on Tuesdays? Oh, sorry, down. I don't know. It's
something like that.
It's down on Tuesday. Like, how is that a chance? And then the one when I realized, I'm like, you guys are just full of shit, is that they're always going, well, it's the price of oil on the per barrel has gone up, therefore the price goes up. Then you watch it drop, and it's like, well, it hasn't. The petrol, the gas at the Bowser hasn't changed yet.
Right.
And then like inflation, they're like, "Oh, it's up because of inflation." I'm like, it didn't go down when inflation went down.
Yeah, no, it doesn't correlate.
No, it only correlates.
Well, apparently, I was reading an article where, like, I guess this guy who owns a majority that we buy from, at least, he's not. I think he's like 100, so he's like not in the best health. So his son is taking over, like one of those sheiks over there, right? And he basically told us like, "No, I'm raising the price, just because I can."
Just 'cause I can.
Right? So it's like, okay, like, and again, like. We get mad, right? We're like, oh my God, the gas is up again. And we're complaining. But at the end of the day, it's like going back to like our prospective business. If I have the control and I want to raise my price, it's my choice to do so, right?
Yeah.
So,
well, the problem is gas doesn't really have a supply and demand issue.
Right.
They can just be like, yeah, we're raising it. And people go, I'm going to drive less for a week. And then we go, fuck, I'm back to normal again.
Yeah.
That is the problem. They have a monopoly.
Yeah. And then that's the thing is like you go and you say, I hear people all the time say, oh my God, they complain about the gas. And then I'm just like, well, what are you going to do? Walk? Like you don't have a choice.
People think you're homeless when you walk in Florida. They do. I was walking, actually this was West Virginia. I was walking to Walmart from the shop.
And someone threw you a quarter?
No, I would have caught it though. I was walking because it was quicker to walk than was to drive because you'd have to drive out, hook back around, then you have to get out and walk the car lot anyway.
You're right.
So what the fuck is the difference versus just cut through the back end of Logan's?
Okay.
I was doing that and someone who knew me saw me and they were like, oh, that homeless guy has the same hood as Blake. They're like, wait, that's Blake. And I'm like, that's your prerequisite for homeless? That I'm walking? Like, oh, he's doing fit things. Homeless.
Yeah. Homeless,
you know?
Yeah.
But it is funny. You see people walking here and you're like, all right, they're either doing it for fitness.
Right.
I mean, this area is different because there's, you know. But yeah, it's weird.
It's different because everyone's 100.
Yeah, that is true. And leather skin.
Yeah.
They love the sun.
Yeah, of course. They've been in the snow the last 50 years.
True.
So then they come here and they're like, I got to catch up on all the sun.
Dude, it is wild how much this place changes in busy season.
It's ridiculous.
What the fuck?
It's like another planet.
It goes from, you know, middle of nowhere traffic wise to fucking LA downtown.
Oh yeah.
Like especially off Bonita Beach Road where we live, that place, it gets so bad that I end up going, you know what? I'm not coming home.
I'm gonna stay home.
I'm not even, if I leave, I'm like, all right, I'm finding something else to do. I'm not driving back.
Well, you got to think about it this way too. It's like, you know, the restaurants. Try to get a reservation.
Yeah, that is true.
They're like, what? You want to eat tonight? No chance.
All right.
Come back in like 6 months when we're out of season, and then there'll be empty tables everywhere. And it just completely changes. And this, I think, kind of like this place thrives off that, right? So because even the rents go up, right? So that house that you went to, that we have, there's like 3 houses in there that have been listed for like, one's listed at $15,000 a month in season.
In there, that surprises me because like, wait, 15,000 a month?
A month.
Okay. The houses on the beach, I think, are like 15,000 a week, which is fucked.
That's crazy.
Oh, bro. Some of them, it's just like, what? But they're Airbnbs too, but.
Yeah, so they're probably like, what, 300 a night? If they're Airbnb, 400 a night?
More than that, I think.
Really?
They can be like a couple of grand a night.
Really?
These like beachfront.
Massive homes.
Yeah, we looked at one of them, like the in-laws did. It had like a 10-seater indoor cinema. The walk-in wardrobe was bigger than my apartment back home.
Yeah.
It was that big that I was like, oh, this is rich person problems, meaning like it had like a 60-foot long gym in the ground floor.
Right.
But I was like, if you were in the master bedroom and say you left something in the gym, you're like, oh, fuck, I'll be back in 7 minutes. Like it was that much of even if you took the elevator, I was like, it was still inconvenient.
Oh my God, there's an elevator.
There was an elevator.
Yeah, see, that's... And then, like, you know what? When I was a kid, I used to say, I want a house like that, right? I want a big
isn't
house.
That funny, huh?
And then now I'm older and I'm like, dude, I don't want a house that big. Like, I can't imagine walking that far, right? It's like a journey.
The only time I could really justify that is if I had I'd have to do what YouTubers seem to be doing. They buy those big ass houses and then they turn it into their workplace as well. So like Logan Paul had his garage, he converted into a podcast studio. He also had the production company part of his business in the second half of this 6-car garage or whatever it was.
Jesus.
Then he had, you know, he would film all this shit there. He had then a meeting area and another, like his whole house became his own fortress, you know? So it was smart. And then even his like top guys, like, cause it was probably 6-bedroom house, they all lived there. So it's like, all right, wake up, boom, straight into work.
Right.
That's when it's like, that's a smart investment.
Right, yeah.
You know, fuck LA traffic.
yeah. Yeah, well, that's the thing over there. It's like ridiculous for them, you know, to get anywhere, you know. But like for me, perfect house, probably 3,000 square feet. Like if I wanted something really big, right?
Still decent.
That's a big house, right? So that one that you went to is 2,000 square feet, right?
I don't know. The other one you're doing? Oh, that's 2,000?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So you figure 3,000, another 1,000 square feet, that gets you another bedroom, you know, a little bit bigger kitchen, dining room area. So, you know, that's more than enough. I think there's just this perception of like, and I think America's like that, you know, in a whole, everybody, bigger is better, right?
Yeah.
You know, the bigger the car, the better the car. The more luxury the brand, the better you are, you know, and I think there's that interpretation and we put a lot of pressure on ourselves, right? And the reality is no one cares.
Yeah.
You know, no one cares. Like, you know, if you get nice things, it's because you want them.
Yeah.
That's what I tell people. If you like nice things and you get them, that's on you. But if you get them to like showboat them, nobody cares.
Well, the thing with people with money don't care about money.
Yeah, and it's funny.
That's the funny thing.
When you start out, you think they do.
Yeah.
And they don't.
Yeah.
They don't care at all.
And I've heard other investors, not even just investors, but people go, I don't care about how much money you can throw at me. I care about the other stuff. Who do you know? What can you do?
Right.
It's not about the money unless they need the money. But most of the time, these people who are successful don't need the money.
Right.
They're like, I just need the thing to achieve the next goal.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I think the only places where it kind of matters is like real estate, right? Yeah. And like my wife's industry, like being a realtor. If you go and you sell a $3 million house and you're not dressed to the T, they're going to be like, yeah, you're probably not doing too well to be selling $3 million houses, right? Because you got to correlate the commissions, right? If you're selling a $3 million house, I think, what are you making, 60 grand or 70, 80 grand?
Yeah, it's decent.
If you're doing that and you're selling houses like that and then you're showing up with like raggedy clothes, they're going to probably put it together that, oh, this person doesn't constantly sell $3 million homes. Because, I mean, if you're selling one and you're making 60, 70 grand, you're telling me you can't go buy yourself a nice watch, buy yourself nice clothes, you know, afford a decent car, right? So that's the thing is they want to be around their class of people, right? But, like, for the most part, I think it also, the biggest part is if you can deliver.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the thing, and it's going back to like the whole real estate thing. They all get paid the same. They all have the same things that they can offer, like as MLS and stuff. So it's just like, who's willing to work harder to get my house sold or find me a house?
Yeah.
Right? That's what you want. And it's the same thing in my business. There's a lot of people who can go lay floor, paint a house, do all that stuff. What I focus on is the customer service aspect, because nobody offers customer service how I can offer customer service. And that's where I show my strength. You know, I show my strength through, you know, providing a good quality service, being attentive, having people on site that can answer questions if need be. And I think that's what people need to focus on their business, right? It's not changing the wheel, but it's making that one section of that business better, where you can be better than the competition, right?
Yeah. Because
going back to price, they don't really care about price. The right people, right?
Yeah.
They don't care. They just want the result.
Well, you sent me that. No, it was on your story. I remember from a while ago where it was selling a $500 product, and then the customer, well, this is a big investment, and I really want to make sure that, you know, we're getting into this thing with the same goals. Selling a $50,000 product, customer, money's in their bank.
Yeah, and that's how it is. Dude, I remember I did a house. I mean, this house was ridiculously huge. Like talking about elevator and all that stuff like that. And we did a house. I mean, I didn't even start the job, and he wired me all the money. I mean, it wasn't like a big project, you know. It was like maybe 10,000, 15,000. Wired it all. And I was just like, this guy's nuts, right? Like, who would do this, right? And then, like, I've had other customers where it's like very little money, and they're like, oh, but what are we going to do about this? And is there going to be dust? I mean, what do you mean is there going to be dust? We're tearing your house apart. Yeah, of course there's going to be some dust, you know, but we clean it up and, you know, we make it all look pretty again.
Yeah. It happens, though, because, I mean, even Blake, the guy that I did the videos for once back in January, and we're going to start some new stuff soon, but it was funny because I have like a usual payment system, and it's like 25% deposit to secure the filming date, 25% to kickstart the 10-day guarantee depending on their project, and then 50% to close it all out. But I only send the drafts with like a watermark over it. He was like, fuck it, just wrote a check, whole amount. He's like, we're good. I was like, sweet. And it was fine because I knew I was going to deliver, because there's no incentive for me not to deliver. Like, I'm screwed if I don't deliver.
Well, that's the thing too, is it gives you more reason to deliver, because you're like, wow, this person respects my business this much, so I want to do above and beyond, right?
Yeah.
When somebody kind of treats you bad and they're kind of like, they beat around the bush, you know, you're kind of like, oh, do I even want to do this job? You know what I mean? And I've had that happen countless of times where people are like, you know, it's just so ridiculous. The questions are ridiculous. There's no result. You're just beating around the bush. That I'm just like, you know what? I'm sorry. I'm not interested in doing your project. And then they get offended.
Yeah.
They're like, what do you mean you don't want to do my house? Is my money not good? No, your money's not good. You know, like, not everybody money's good.
The ones that really, the ones that get me though, I remember once way back, it was when I did network marketing. It was like Isogenics. But I remember this guy, after about the third, fourth question, I just go to him like, hey, you're not right for me, bro. Oh, I'm sorry. I said, hey, sorry, man. It just sounds like this isn't for you. He goes, no, I'm just asking questions. I'm just asking questions, bro. And I'm like, but I've answered them all, and you still have more questions that really overlap between the last ones. And he's like, do you expect to get business if you operate like this? And I'm like, not from you.
Yeah.
And he got fucking angry at me, because I was like, dude, you're clearly just wasting my time. And I just feel like this is an Instagram debate in the comment section. And yeah, so he didn't end up, you know, it was just one of those things where you had to redline it very quickly and be like, all right, dude, this is just not going to work.
Yeah, because then
I know you're just
the
fucking
whole
around
process is going to be terrible, right?
Yeah.
The whole engagement, you know, and then they're not gonna appreciate the whole service. It's not a good fit.
Well, if they're that finicky from the beginning, I feel like they're going to be finicking the whole way through, and then it's very unlikely they're going to be happy with the product anyway,
regardless if it's good.
Yeah, because that's how they're wired.
Yeah,
you know, they're going to be, they have to look to make it perfect,
right?
And no job's perfect.
No,
nothing is perfect.
No.
You know,
listen, I remember when I first started, I did a house. Oh my God, these people got on their hands and knees and inspected the floor.
Ooh.
The whole house. I mean, this house was like 2,500 square feet. I couldn't believe it. My Thailand stars was looking at me like, and I'm new to the business at this point. I'm like, I think I've been in business 2 years, and I'm looking at him. I'm like, do people do this? And he's like, oh, you know, like, they don't do this. And on their hands and knees, the whole floor, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, are you kidding me right now? Like,
yeah, like what happens when someone walks on it later that day?
Yeah, like it was just nuts. And so then, like, as time persists, you learn how to like cut that right there, you know, before it even gets to that point, you know, because those are people just looking for something to complain about. And there are people like that, you know, there are people there out to complain for every little detail, right? And like you said, no job's perfect, right? Mm-hmm. I don't go by any means and say I'm the best person out there, you know. I just tried to deliver the best, right? And I seek improvement every single time. And that's how we set ourselves apart, right?
Yeah.
You know, and eventually, you know, we get the right clients. And I think I saw a video that you posted, or that you actually talked about in a room where you said, I think it was the
personal trainer.
Yeah.
Where
that guy's my hero,
right?
That guy's my hero.
He makes more money with one client than he used to do with fucking what,
20. It's like, come on.
But again, it's in his case, it was just finding that one. you know. And even my best mate from back home, when he had a production company, it was kind of good. I needed to speak with him for perspective because I've got so much pressure happening around, you know, the people that are closest to you are usually the ones that sabotage you, not meaning to.
Right.
You know, like it's just because they're love and concern. And he was saying to me, he came out after he was in America for 6 years, got rid of one company, which was super successful. But he just was like, I'm done with it. And he had all the connections, but then started a production company. And he said it still took him about 6 to 9 months. And they always joked, like, we just need that one, just that one. And then ends up, you know, fucking making stupid money.
But that's what it takes. Like I told you, the one.
Yeah. But he like, this is why having someone who will tell you, someone who's way more knowledgeable than you. And it's funny, again, I feel like some people really judge by age, but like, he's younger than me. You're younger than me. Thor, who was before the podcast before, he's younger than me, and I'm like, I learned so much from all you guys. But he recalibrated how I was thinking, because he's just like, you're not focusing on the right people at all. He goes, you're trying to change people that won't be changed, versus look for the low hanging fruit. Usually when you hear like go for the low hanging fruit, it's a bad thing. Yeah. But the way he said it, he goes, my entrepreneurial mind searches for the low-hanging fruit. Meaning, why would I try and sell to someone who doesn't get it? I'm going to sell to someone who gets it.
Right.
They will pay a premium, and then I do less of a uphill grind. And that's what he was doing at the beginning, which is what I've been doing a bit, which is trying to change people's mind versus trying to find the people who get it.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck. All right, you're correct. Now I need to start searching for people. And it's already making me go, all right, maybe not going to here, not going to go there. I'm going to go here.
But you'll see like how quickly it changes your game, right? Mm-hmm. So how quickly you can make money. So for me, I used to say the same thing. So it's funny that you're saying that, because I used to always say, I go for the breadcrumbs. Right? So everybody's focused on the pie, but they leave all the crumbs.
Yeah.
Well, who's going to eat the crumbs? I'll take the crumbs, right? Yeah. So, and then that's how I started, right? And now those crumbs, if you get enough crumbs, you can make a pie. And so little by little, it's just increased and increased and increased. But the thing is what people don't understand is that through those increases, there's battles, right? Mm-hmm. And there's problems and frustration because of like outside things, like you said, people can try to sabotage you, not even meaning to sabotage you, or, just life in general itself, anything can really like go wrong, right? Mm-hmm. Like in any business, like, so for instance, you'll have a house, right? And then you're working on the house and somebody comes in and steals the stuff in the house, right? Like I remember when we bought this one in Bonita, the seller stole all the appliances.
What?
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. So we came in, I think we came in from vacation after we closed, because we closed overseas, and we come back and the house was emptied of appliances. Now they were junk anyways, and I was going to change them out, so I didn't really care. But it's the principle.
It's more weird, yeah.
Right? It's just like, really, you're gonna do like scummy stuff like that? Like, maybe I won't do business with you again.
Yeah.
And so it's just like little things like that can happen, and that can affect your business, and it affects your momentum because it affects your emotions, right?
Yeah.
Because then you could be like, oh my God, man, this guy stole my stuff. What happens if I'm working on the house and he comes back and he steals everything else? You know what I'm saying? So like you kind of just have to, focus on the wins, like those guaranteed wins, right? Mm-hmm. Where like, okay, these people get it, right? These people get it.
Yeah.
And it's like for me now, since I have like basically my CRM, I see everybody who we have a proposal out to, and I'll do a follow-up. And if they're like, oh, I don't know. Okay, see you. My job is not to convince you.
Yeah.
My job is to provide the service, give you all the resources you need to see what we can provide you for the price that we've given you. Mm-hmm. And obviously everything's negotiable, right? Like I'm not going to sit here and tell my guys not to negotiate, right? But, we can negotiate. But if you're not even like negotiating and you're just like kind of beating about in the bush, we are not going to constantly like babysit you, right?
Yeah. Don't cater to the tire kickers.
Yeah, because there's actual people that want your service, appreciate your service, and they want to earn your business, right? And you want to earn theirs. So you'll see the difference, right? Like, and now I've noticed, like, when I go for the right people, in 2-3 days we're closed and we're working on a house, right?
Yeah.
And it goes smooth, right? I provide a great service. We get a good review every time. And that's all that matters is you providing that level of quality for them, right? And especially here it's a piece of cake for me because no one answers their phone. I don't know if you've dealt with that.
I've noticed that businesses don't answer their phone.
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they don't answer their phone.
What is with that?
They don't like money, I guess.
It's very bizarre.
Either they're super rich or they just, I don't know, like being broke, I guess. I don't understand that concept. I can't grasp it.
Yeah, it's very weird. And I get it if I'm following up, but I feel like sometimes even when I want their business, I'm like, why don't you call me back?
No, but I'm talking about even the first call. I mean, my wife and me, we called for that house. We redid the lanai. I think we called 15 companies or 20 companies. 3 answered. That's pretty scary.
Yeah.
And then 2 of them said, oh, I could get to you like in 2 months, 3 months, or 4 months. And then 1 said, hey, I could come and do it.
Is that also because of like labor shortage or something here?
Man, there's no labor shortage.
There isn't?
That's all.
It's all bullshit?
Nonsense. Like, I would say when people were getting paid by the government because they were making more staying at home, right? So like, who wouldn't, right?
Yeah. Like
you're sitting here and telling me I can make $800 a week and stay at home. They're going to do it, right? So I'm not mad, right? It's just, it is what it is. So now they cut that. There's people that need work, but the realization is guess what? They know that you need the work because you're behind. So they want to get paid more. That's the difference. They're willing to work, but are you willing to pay?
Yeah.
And that's kind of the problem. Like I was having a conversation. So before probably you'd pay a laborer, right? Maybe $150 a day or $120 a day, right? To just do miscellaneous things for you. And now they're charging people $200, $250 a day.
Yeah. Wow.
So that completely changes for like those small kind of businesses, right? So, but for us, like we have our contractors, our subs, right? So we don't have that issue. So I bring kind of everybody from where I'm from Miami, so it kind of eats my profit, but I get the job done, right?
Yeah, and that's more important.
Yeah, at the end of the day. Yeah, and at the end of the day, they're providing me a good name right here. So because I answer the phone, we're out there like almost immediately. And then they're like, oh, when can you get started? I'm like, oh, I could get started when you're ready to go.
Yeah.
Wait, what? Really? It's not 3 months from now? I'm like, no, of course not. Like, if I'm coming out or having one of my sales guys go out and go do a quote, why the heck would I send them out to tell you that we can't do it for 3 months?
Yeah.
I wouldn't even waste anyone's time like that. I just say, hey, listen, are you prepared to wait 3 months? Because that's when I would be able to do the job. Yeah, I'm okay with it. Okay, I'll send somebody out. I'm not going to send somebody out and say, oh, hey, yeah, it's going to take 3 months. Yeah, because I literally called one company and they were like, oh, yeah, we can come on Friday. It's Wednesday. So I'm excited, right? I'm like, oh, they're going to come on Friday, right? And then I go, yeah, but before you come out and you schedule it, I'm like, how long before you can do it? And they're like, 3 months. I'm like, so why are you coming out on Friday?
Also because so many things can go wrong. Like that was one thing with Stace that I used to say. I'm like, if you're going to wait 3 months for like a program to open, get a deposit. Because if you don't,
I always get a deposit.
There's too many things to change.
Yeah, because then...
Also, 3 months is a ridiculous time to waste.
So what I usually do so that I make it fair, right? I'll take... If it's like such a long out wait like that, like let's say, for instance, they like the price, but they're not ready to start the job. Like them, the client itself. They say, but we're going to wait for 2 months. Well, I tell them, hey, listen, to lock in your price and to get kind of the ball rolling, I'll take like 20%, right? Because I always take 50% before I even start.
Yeah.
And then some people are like offended when I say that. They're like, you're going to take 50%? I'm like, yeah, are you going to go buy the material? Like, what do you mean? Like, because they think that you're pocketing that money.
Yeah. Well, it's because you've touched on this before. There's enough horror stories of contractors taking that deposit and running.
Yeah.
And that's an important thing too about having an online presence so people can research you.
Right.
You know, like I feel like there's more danger not having a presence online than there is having, you know, because if you're doing enough jobs, you're going to get the occasional fucking Karen that writes a negative review. But if it's flooded by a shitload of fives with details,
they're not going to care about that one.
No, because I read 1 stars for fun because I'm just like, this is someone who's angry.
Oh, yeah. And then you notice that they're like really just stupid. There's like really no complaint, you know? But I'll tell you what, I'll tell you a funny story. We have a friend here that they had, they were doing their kitchen, and they hired a company, and the company literally had like a building on 5th with like awards for kitchens, and they scammed them.
Really?
Yeah. They literally closed up shop and everything and disappeared.
That's commitment.
Super commitment to get a lease, to fake a name for the lease, to get awards, to build out this whole elaborate like cabinet factory. I'm like, that's a lot of work just to, you know. So you got to know that they went to like 10, 20 people, got them scammed all at the same time so that they could do an exit with like 6 figures.
Were they legit awards though? Like, did they research the awards, or was it like they saw them on the wall?
They were on the wall.
Okay.
They were on the wall.
That's you know, print that off on a Canon. Yeah,
of course. So they had like, from the story I heard, they had awards, right, and all this stuff, and they were like famous in like different states and that garbage, right? Well, thank God his wife kind of had a bad feeling, and she decided to do some digging and realized like, I don't think so. So they didn't end up giving the money, and thank God they didn't, because like, you know, they would have lost it. I think they lost like a couple $1,000, but that was it.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's a dedicated scam.
Yeah, but
especially on 5th. 5th ain't cheap.
Yeah, it was like 5th or 3rd, I think they told me. And then like literally like the month later, after they kind of caught on, the place closed down. It was empty. And I'm like, dude,
who can you trust these days?
But the thing is like, for me, like, I don't even care. Like, if you did that to me, you know, karma's gonna get you, right? Like, what comes around goes around. So, you know, and that's the thing, is like, that's why I always try to do the right thing, business wise, everything, just because I do feel like what you do will come around, right? So if you treat people badly, you will get the same reciprocated to you.
100%.
Right? So, you know, you always want to be kind to people. You always want to be ethical. And like, I mean, I don't know about your business, but I know in real estate, there's super unethical people.
Yeah, I don't know too much about my industry in that regards. I know that they're usually unreliable.
Yeah, I've heard that.
So it's like I tell my clients, you got a 10-day business guarantee for most of, because it's short form content. I can bust that stuff out real quick. Right. Not in terms of like 20-second video is going to take me 20 seconds. Like a 20-second video is still going to take me fucking 45 minutes or more. Right. But it's like I do a 10-day guarantee for multiple reasons. Confidence that they're going to get the product in time. 2, that it's a way less stressful event for me, because I'm just like, get it, edit, done. Yeah. Because that should be a saying. Get it, edit, done. And then also, because again, my model is punching out content constantly. So if we film it, 2 weeks later, you've got it, post it, we film it again, now you got the next month. Like, it needs to be that fast-paced turnover. Right. But it is funny, like, that when I tell people 10-day guarantee, they're like, well, really? I'm like, well, yeah, like, it's a social media. I can't post and be like, all right, we're going to. Now, if it's more of a curated ad, it'll be different. But yeah, most of it is, it's reliability. Because, I mean, I think the wedding video that I edited, our wedding video, and I edited our birth video, and I did those in 4 weeks. And people were like my wife's going, oh, just hurry up. Right. And I'm like, 4 weeks? I'm like, you're getting 4 weeks for like a super unique experience where it's like people feel like they're there and it's a story. Right. Versus just me putting a bunch of pretty shots over a track. Right. And those still take 3 to 4 months. Like, I couldn't imagine waiting for 3 months for a wedding video. you know, but it's so normal.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is like, you know, when my wife, she did real estate photography, right? In the beginning. And that's how she like supplemented her income to grow in real estate. And, you know, I remember seeing her edit, and it would take her a long time to edit these videos and these photos. And I'm like, dude, I'd be charging a lot more.
Yeah.
You know, like this is a lot of work, right? And then she was super picky when we got our photographer, our wedding, and our wedding photographer took a while to get us the photos, but they came out excellent.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's the thing, is like, speed is not always quality, right? And so that's kind of the thing, is like, how do you make your business efficient but still maintain that quality? I think that's like everybody's like golden egg that they want solved, right? So I think once you kind of have a better understanding of how you can provide that, I think that's where you soar. Because like for you doing the 10-day guarantee, I'm sure there's people that don't do that, right?
Oh,
you'll get it.
What the fuck?
You'll get it when you get it.
Yeah, but it's also that they try and do it all themselves, and this is why it's like, you know, it does. If I had a CFO, they'd be like, "What the fuck are you doing? What are you doing?" And on paper it does make sense, but short term, it does make sense. Long term, it's going to, because again, I'm hiring people to edit, because I know that like I'll edit still a chunk of it, but the girl that does the clips for this video, super fucking quick. She's great. Then as well, I said to her, I'm like, as I start getting more clients, we're going to start building a system where I'm just, you know, I'll send you to edit it. And we have this system, because what I'm noticing with creatives, they're really good at, like, they get the reputation of being good, and they're pulling in and they film, like they eat.
Right.
But the filming part's the easy part. It's, you know, you film it in a day. The editing's going to take 2 or 3 days.
Right.
So in terms of like the time, back to your example of the photographer, he only or she only needed the same amount of time, whether it was there or 3 months later. It's just that there was a backlog of a lot of other weddings probably.
Right. Yeah.
There was like shoot. And I'll edit them when I have some time, versus I'm trying to make sure that I've got this system where it's like, all right, film through the production line, edit, send it back to me. I'll be like, that works, back to you, back, and then to the client.
Right.
Versus me trying to find time of finding clients, building the brand, editing, and also filming and doing everything. Because then the clients just want their shit.
Yeah. And the thing is the way that I tell people to think about it is, what's it costing you, right? So like, for me, I've gotten to the point where I don't really need to do the estimates anymore. I have somebody who could do that. I have people who could do the work. I have people who could do everything. How do you get the right people on your team to solve those problems for you so you can do what makes you the money? Yeah. Right. So I always tell people I'm not particularly good at anything, right? I wouldn't say I'm like talented in something. You know, some people have like a born skill. I don't think I have that. The one thing I'm good at is I'm a good salesperson, because I'm honest, right? I'm not a salesy person. I don't jam it down your throat until you buy from me, right? It's more of, I'm out here and I'm on your team and I want to give you the best experience, right? Both in, if I'm buying your home, right, so that I could do it as an investment, or if I'm trying to remodel your home, same concept applies, right? I want to make it a win-win. And I think society has made it seem like there has to be a win-lose. And there doesn't. There can be a win-win and everybody happy. And you have to be okay with compromise. And that's the thing, is like, I was talking with one of my mentors, and he said that he had a deal where the guy basically conned this old lady out of her house and said, because there was like minor cracks in the subfloor. And he said, oh yeah, this is foundation issues. Like, this isn't worth anything. Like, it's worth lot value. So the house was worth like $400,000, or not even. I think it was worth less. I think it was probably worth maybe like $150 as is. And he told her it was worth like $30,000. Oof. And the lady sold it to him for $30,000. Yeah. And then the guy, my mentor, the wholesaler called him and said, hey man, I got this steal of a deal for you, right? The house, when you fix it all up, it's worth like $350. And he's like, how much you want for it? He's like, dude, I'll give it to you for $100 because I got it off this lady for like 30 grand. So it's quick. It's my first deal, and I stole it right from her, like bragging about it, right? And he literally turned around and said, I'm not buying the house from you. He's like, what are you talking about? It's a good deal. He's like, yeah, but you're bragging about taking advantage of somebody. He's like, no amount of money is worth that, right? Like he could have easily offered her $100 and he could have sold it to him for $150.
Yeah.
She would have got what it was worth for real. He would have made 50 grand, and then my mentor would have made like 200 grand or whatever, 100 grand, after it was completely fixed up. And it's like, you see, that's a win-win-win. Right? Versus, I snatched it from somebody, took advantage, and now I'm trying to reap the benefit.
It also shows the importance of getting a second opinion with everything.
Yeah.
Like don't take the first person's opinion. And it's tricky too, because everyone hears second opinion when they talk about medical, but I think it applies to everything because, the medical example is, I think they did a test for how many second opinions were the same as the first, and it was like 12%. Only 12% of the second opinions were the same. Now, does that mean the first was wrong or right? Don't know. But with what you're like with the stuff like in that example, if someone said, hey, it's worth this much, I'd be like, oh, that sucks. I'll ask someone else as well.
Right.
And then, if they're different, all right, now I need to reevaluate and find out more because, if someone was like, if she went to another person and was like, I could probably give you 100, I'd be like, what?
Yeah. Then it's like either someone's giving you too much. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I tell people all the time, when they come and get a price from me, I tell them, listen, go get 3 quotes. Go get 3-4 quotes. I said, I'm not going to be the most expensive, but I'm definitely not going to be the cheapest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so then I tell them, okay. And then people are like, oh, well, you match the price. I said, let's sit down together, see exactly what that person is offering you and see what I'm offering you. And I guarantee you it's not the same.
That's good.
And that's kind of how you get people in that aspect, because I think if I put on the piece of paper, hey, listen, we're going to do the floor, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, they don't really understand exactly what is being done, right? They know in their head that they had you come to quote them to do the floor. That's all they know. So you can put all the mumbo jumbo stuff that you want on that piece of paper. They're not really going to pay attention to it.
Yeah.
Right. So then they go in and get another quote, and then the person tells them the same thing. Oh yeah, I could do it, and it's $1,000 cheaper or whatever. Well, now I come and they call me and they're like, hey, why is he charging me $1,000 less? Well, let me see the quote. They show me the quote. I'm like, well, I'm giving you a vapor barrier. I'm giving you a repair on all the cracks before I lay down the new floor. I'm giving you top tier thin set to lay down the tile. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's where that price difference doesn't equate. It's apples and oranges, right? Mm-hmm. And I think as people do more research, so I'm like super happy when someone says they did the research, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh, thank God, kind of what's about to happen, right? You know what you're supposed to pay and stuff. Because I've had people where I go to do a bathroom for them. Like a bathroom is going to cost you probably somewhere between, depending on the size now, like 8 to 15,000 for like a normal size bathroom, right? That's kind of like whatever, with everything you want in it, depending on if you the highest materials or like the lowest, vanities and all. I went to this one lady one time and I gave her a quote and she's like, yeah, I got a quote. And her bathroom came out wrecked the first time. She had a contractor and he wrecked it. I mean, it was like tiles falling off the wall, brand new. I was just like, okay. So I'm thinking she learned her lesson. So I give her the price. She's like, oh no, somebody came back and they told me that they could do it for $2,500. And I was like at $9,000. I'm like, listen, I'm just going to tell you exactly how you just said it. So how am I at this number and this guy's at this number? So sometimes more expensive is better.
100%.
Because you never know what the person is. If they're giving you in that aspect, if they're giving it super low, well, what are they cutting out?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Versus like if it's a house, well, why is this person offering me more and you're offering me $100,000 less? You see? So it just kind of depends on what industry you're in, because I constantly go to houses all the time and I'll offer $100,000 less or $50,000 less. The reason being is because a lot of people think their house is worth a lot more than what it is. Very rarely do you find a house where people have it way less than what it's worth.
Yeah.
You know, people always usually, even me, I do it all the time. You know, I list my house super high in hopes that I get it.
Yeah.
If I don't get it, it's fine.
But then you're dropping it, then it's fine.
If I get it, I'm happy as a clam. You know, so, you know, it happens all the time. So, but, you know, it's a give and a take, right? It's a give and a take. And then I think as that,
what if you did like the information for what you're saying where people can research, you could be that guy that they use for some content to research it. So it's like, I mean, you're just giving them the facts, no emotion, nothing, but they're on the website, or you've got a YouTube page or a channel or something like that, where it's just like things to consider.
Yeah.
And then that way people would be like, hey, I've done my research. I also saw some of your shit. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, it's very, and now it's like you're a whole other leap ahead of the competition because they've got the information from you that matched up to somewhere else that they saw it.
Yeah.
And then it's like, I trust this guy versus fucking Joe Blow down the road.
Yeah. You know, I've thought about it. You know, me and you have had the conversation. It's just, it's like, do I want to be the guy though? That's the question for me.
I don't think it's being the guy though. Like most of my clients don't want to be the guy. You know what I mean? It's just more that, I mean, you could also even just get someone who works with you to be like explaining that sort of stuff where it is, they've got, you know, the Fortunato name and they're talking, they're running through stuff. Cause like the pest control, it's not my father-in-law that does it. His, you know, employees do it.
Right.
But they see it with the brand and see it all. And it's like, oh, this company is showing me how to avoid my services, what to look out for, why they do this and they don't do this in an educational form. Like one example is the bed bugs that they use liquid and heat. And it's funny because they just say that they do it because it gets rid of the bugs that night. But then once I went, okay, break down the pros and cons to the three most common forms of treatment, which was liquid only, heat only, or fumigation. And as I went down through the pros and cons, I said to them like, oh, you guys do the combination of liquid and heat because it has all the benefits, and the benefits of liquid and the benefits of heat counteract the negatives and the cons of liquid and heat, and doesn't have the toxicity of fumigation. And I'm like, that's the shit you need to do, is like, here's the 3 ways we can treat. And so you can make an educated decision.
Right.
You take them through, and like we take them through the pros and cons. Look out for this. You know, liquid, you're going to have to be putting up with them for 6 to 9 weeks still while we do this because of this reason. Heat, look, if we miss one during the heat, those bed bugs come back.
Right.
Then the combination. So that's why we choose the combination, is because you'll get rid of them that night. If there's a straggler or two, which can happen, you've now got the liquid treatment remaining. So that by the time that person's watched it, they're like, oh yeah, shit, why wouldn't I choose that?
Yeah.
I don't want to wait 9 weeks.
Of course.
But also, I want to have that peace of mind that they're not going to come back if you didn't get 100% of them.
Yeah.
Same sort of stuff, I think, would be working with this stuff, with whatever, whoever, even if you don't choose me, I think it'd just be benefit you guys is give them so that they're entertained.
I like how you put it. Like, it doesn't have to be me. And that's the thing. Is like, I don't want it to be me, right?
Honestly, most business owners don't want it to be them.
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why. Like, I like the thought, right? Like I see like, you know, Grant Cardone, I see Ryan Pineda, like the Vocal Brothers. Those are all like people in real estate.
It's a specific personality that likes that. I love being that guy.
Yeah.
You know, like that's me. I'm like, let me be the lightning rod. Yeah. Let me talk shit with a lot of people and bring them in, funnel them that way. That ain't for everyone.
No, it's not. and like everybody has their pros and cons. And I think it takes a special person to like know that they're good at something and not good at something and know how to adjust, right? And that's the thing is like when I started laying the floor. I started doing the bathroom. I started doing everything, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not the best tile setter. Yeah. I'm not the best vinyl flooring installer. I'm not the best painter, right? I went out and I found the best and I did what I was good at, going and getting the jobs, right? So I think that, like what you said, that would be a good avenue for me, is like to say, okay, like let me focus on finding somebody that's their vibe, is to be in front of people and they can share the information, you know, because
even your tilers, like if it's something that's specific to the tilers, find one that's like, man, I don't give a shit. They'll feel awkward if they're not used to calling camera. That's fine. I edit around that shit, like whatever, like the team does. The guys from the pest control are always just like, man, that was terrible. I'm sorry. And then they watch the edit. They're like, thank you. Every time. But it's the same with me. You watch, I look natural on camera.
Yeah.
If I showed you just one unedited cut, you'd be like, sorry. Hold on. Like, you don't see that. That's the beauty of editing.
Yeah.
And so if you have someone who is a tiler and the video's to do with tiling, I think use them too, because they'll be like, yeah, well, you should do this, this, and this, and maybe avoid this and be careful of that.
Yeah.
It's going to come so naturally to them.
I think probably for me, like the way I would do it would be in the real estate portion. I probably wouldn't do it for the construction, because like I've been mitigating myself out of that, right? I've been taking myself out. So, but for the real estate, the way I would see it is like how all these guys do it. Like, because I mean, it's genius. You know, they have all their deals that they're showing, and then they're like, hey, we need an investor. So you find somebody that's watching your content that has an extra 50, 60K laying around. Like right now, for example, I have a deal that I'm putting under contract. I need like 50, 60 to close more than what I have for that one deal, right? So now I have to go find that 50, 60 grand somewhere. So now, okay, how do I find that 50, 60 grand? You see what I'm saying? Versus if I'm constantly putting content like you're saying, and I'm the face, and I'm like, listen, I got this deal, I did this deal, we made 200K off this deal, we made 50K off this deal, and we're moving forward. Well, now you see my face all the time at different houses showing you what we're doing. And then you're like, wow, this guy knows what he's doing. You know,
you could also do it in like, not live form, but it's like, if people can see it as it's developing too. Now you've got a story. Yeah. You know, like, so versus just, again, back to the, I can't remember if it was you, but give them 2 + 2, not 4. So people like to work for their meal with a story. That's why we like movies. They don't say like YouTube's always, in this video, we're going to do blah, 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 blah. Could you imagine if Titanic's like, hey guys, I'm going to get on a boat and it's going to sink when it hits an iceberg. Like, come along through it. No. Versus, hey guys, we just got this, this house, you know, now I'm investing in that house for the next 3 months. Yeah. So, and I've noticed that even when I post just pictures. Yeah. Everybody texts me, hey, how's that house going? Yeah. So if you're showing like little snippets, and so for example, I mean, and the best part too is, and this is something that it's hard for people, even when shit goes wrong. Yeah. See how you overcome it, because as well, if you had an investor who wasn't sure about you and he goes to your social media and you're showing the whole, so he's like, this house, okay, and then you can scroll and go back through the timeline in an engaging way, like Reels format, and see that you're also showing that you can overcome the bullshit. It's actually doing the reverse of what most people think. Like, oh, I can't show them that things went wrong. Right. Any investor who's going to put 50, 60K into your shit is not going to believe that everything went right. Oh, no. You know? And the thing is they don't have to deal with it. That's the beauty, right? So, like, they're seeing that you're dealing with it. Yeah. And that's the thing is, like, dude, every house has a problem. I don't care what house it is. They all have problems. They all have something going on. So you got to just learn to adjust and deal with it and move past it and just, you know, get it done, right? It could also help with the actual price of the house too, because people can go research how it was renovated. Well, yeah. I mean, like, okay, so... Because they know, oh, okay. He paid X. Well, they could see the money part too. I guess that could be a tricky part, but you could probably just not talk about the price. If that makes sense. So you can omit the money until later. The end. Or, you know, whatever. The money can be outside of the story. Well, I mean, they don't care. Like you're saying in the investor's eyes? Like how much? No, I mean the person who's going to purchase the flip. So. Oh, yeah. What you could do is just like if they can go back and see all the shit that you fixed, they're going to be like, oh, okay, I know that's sorted. I know this is sorted. I know this is sorted. Or the other option is you film it and have a long-term mindset of once the house is sold, release it in a 3-month thing like you're renovating in Lifetime. That's the other option.
Yeah, I've seen people do that a lot. Because the other thing is too is like if you show it live, like before you buy it, like somebody will find the deal and steal it. You know what I'm saying? Like so, like for instance, the one I'm buying now. Like if I said kind of where it was.
I don't mean like I don't mean posting that you're searching for it.
Yeah.
Once you've got it, it's like, hey, we just got this house. Here are the plans. Boom, 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 and you can show like you walking through. Just like how a realtor's like, you know, they walk through the house, like, has this place, this. You can be like, hey, here's our vision for the house. Boom, boom, and boom. Right. And now I'm like, fuck, I want to see how this turns out. Yeah. And I'm glued to your stuff for the next 3 months.
3 months, yeah.
You know, and if you've got 2 houses running, it's
more content.
Holy shit. Like, okay, he's got this house, the other house. All right, I'm gonna keep on check. Right. You can also have a call to action too with people with like Instagram. Guys, so you don't miss out the next post we do on this house, hit the bell notification and select Reels. It'll pop up on our Reels. Right. Now you've got people that, like, because I've got someone who I want to follow, for example, or even a prospect. I do that. I want to make sure that I get notified when they do a post. So I get a notification. I'm like, oh, they did a Reel. Boom, comment. Right. There's a reason for people to follow you because you've got like, you're unraveling the story in Lifetime. Right. That it's like, I know what I want to have next, but you only give me 2 + 2. I don't know what's coming next. Yeah. You know? Yeah. That I think would be kind of cool and wouldn't be too tricky to put together.
I don't think so just because, dude, everyone loves houses.
Bro, I love snooping houses.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny, like everybody wants to see how it's going to turn out, what's the vision, you know, like because they think it's like a modern day HGTV, you know? Yeah. So and it's fun because people are always so surprised. And there's people younger than me doing it, right? Yeah. So, you know, like when I tell people how old I am, they're like, what? Like you're doing this like already? And like, you know, and I put a lot of pressure on myself, right? So for me, I don't see it as like weird, right? Yeah. I see it as like I should be 10 years ahead, right? And so I get frustrated with myself, but then people come along and then I think that's where the gratefulness comes in, right? Yeah. So then I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'm not doing so bad, right? Maybe things are going good, right? And so I think that's the thing is like, cause like in my mind, I'm like, man, I should have enough money to go get me a Bentley tomorrow if I wanted to and go get whatever watch I wanted and stuff. And the reality is like, that's just the bullshit, right? That people throw in your head like, oh, well, if you're successful, you should be able to have this and have this. I'm like, you know what? I'm doing okay. Yeah. My bills are paid. I got money in the bank. I'm doing something I like to do. That's good, right? Like that's a win, right? And so, and I think people try to chop at your wins, you know, and it's like that self-sabotage, you know, because, and that's the thing is like in my life over the years, I've cut out people quick. You know, like because of that, any like envy and things like that. Like if you're not on the same page, like I don't want to be around you, right?
It's so weird because when someone's successful, I'm like, how? Tell me, you know? It's the opposite. Like that's why my best mate is so good at like he'll tell me how much money he's making, because I'm not. It's more like oh fuck, like, and it's always way more than I think it is, which is hilarious, you know, like because he's so humble. Yeah. But it, you know, and. I adore him to death because I'm just like, dude, I need your help. He's like, yeah, man, let's jump on a Zoom. And, you know, it's that tricky thing too because he's so far ahead of me. I'm like, how the fuck do I give him value? Like, I don't want to be this guy like always being like, hey, what do I do next? You're helping me. I'm like, fuck.
People don't really care.
I used to be the leech, and so I used to be that guy who was always like, pull. And some would still say I'm like that still now because I'm trying to build a business. Right. So it's like, fuck off. Don't get in my way. I mean, but I think everyone who starts a business gets that. It's like,
that's the thing is like, and I think maybe that's where your friend comes from, right? So when he started, he understands. And I think it's the same thing like with me, right? So like when you talk about these things with me, like I'm still in the process of growing, right? I'm not there yet. right? So like the vision.
Where is there though? No one even knows.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. It's somewhere like lost in space, right? You know, like
When you're at Elon Musk level, I bet he still wants to go elsewhere.
But his is not even about money. Like I can honestly say he doesn't care about a dollar.
I don't feel like anyone who is successful, they don't give a shit about the money.
Yeah.
You know, like I give a shit about money in terms of, all right, I need to make enough money to be making the bills. But if I cared about money, again, I did my accounting for this year and I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, am I going backwards? But in terms of like money, I'm going backwards.
Right.
But I'm like, I know so many fucking, like I walk into a room now, like this morning I went to a meeting, like a networking thing. I knew 4 people in there. I was like, hey. And then I had a meeting with one of them from that meeting at, what do you call it, around the corner here, First Watch, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Knew a guy in there. I'm like, fuck, okay.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm looking at it, investing in the people, and again knowing and finding out information, like learning, because that'll pay off dividends.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like, you know, once things get to a certain point, and then like let's say you have some money and you say, hey, you know that I'm flipping houses. You say, hey, Julian, I know you flipping houses. Do you have any deals that I could partner with you in? Oh, hey, I know that you're a mechanic. Hey, I need some work done to my car. Or, hey, you're a car salesman at this place. Can you get me a hookup? And that's where those things start to be reciprocated, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, like, and I think that's the thing is people think, oh, money is the success. It's not the money, right? The money's great. Don't get me wrong. You want to make money, obviously. Like you need electric, water, your housing. It takes money. So I always say, like, don't be the person that says, oh, money doesn't matter. You're an idiot.
It kind of does.
Yeah. I mean,
tell that to the IRS.
Yeah. I'm on an ongoing battle with the IRS, dude. Like, it's never ending. So, and that's the thing is like, when you're the little guy, it's hard to get ahead, right? It's hard to get those wins, you know? And like, I cried when I sold the house and they said, oh yeah, by the way, capital gains tax.
Yeah.
I'm like, you got me again. Yeah. And that's the thing is like, and I know that they were talking about raising capital gains to like 30% or something.
That's
25%.
All bullshit.
I was like, dude, if this happens, I'm like gone. Like
that's just politicians slinging dicks trying to show their constituents, we're going to raise taxes, but it's like they know very well it's very rarely going to happen, because I think it's something like the top 1% pays 50% of the taxes or something like that.
Top 1% pays 50% of the tax.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And then the bottom 50% of the people pay 4% of the tax.
Yeah.
In America.
I believe it.
Which is so fucking wild. And they're still like, they need to pay more taxes. It's like, even the house that we're at, that massive one I was telling you about, the land tax was 80 grand a year for the privilege. 80K. I'm like, the average income for a household in America wide is, I think it's what, 52K?
Probably something like that.
And the taxes,
which is like nothing.
Yeah. But the taxes on this house is 80K. I'm like,
yeah, well,
privilege.
That's the thing is like, listen, I remember when I first started, I worked for a management company and I managed all their Section 8 properties.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you're familiar with
Section 8.
Section 8 is like low income housing.
Okay.
Right? Type of thing. So I don't even think they pay the rent. I think the government pays the rent for them. Right? And then, or they get like a discount, but they got to be like on the up and up. Like you can't be doing drugs and stuff and have your house disarrayed. But I remember going in these houses, and these houses were pretty rough, right? They're usually in rougher areas and stuff. But, it's low income. It's usually like a single mom. I used to remember seeing always a single mom. I remember there's this one in particular. She had like 5 kids. One of them had cerebral palsy.
Oof.
So it's like, how does she win?
Yeah.
Her life is not going to change by much, right? Because it's just so hard as is. And I remember going to that house, man, and I sat in my truck, I cried, dude. Because I felt so bad, because it's like, you live in a place that you don't want to live, right? Nobody wants to live there, right?
Yeah.
And then to have these kids and you be by yourself, right? And, you know, everyone talks trash. They're like, oh, they're eating away at my taxes and stuff. There are genuine people out there that need help.
100%.
There are genuine people out there. Granted, there are also people scamming the system and trying to get every dollar that they can get. There's two sides of the spectrum. And the reality is nobody can fix that. I don't care what politician comes in place or whatever. That's something that's always going to happen. There's always people that want to take advantage, and then there's always people trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And so you kind of have to be the one to help people where you can, right? You know? And so like when you deal with those houses, you know, yeah, they're getting their rent paid or whatever, but how many of them actually need it? Because how expensive is it to live in the United States, period? You know what I mean? Like you sit here and you say, okay, the average salary is $50,000. Well, I mean, break it down. How much is the average car payment? I think it just went up and it's like $400 a month, the average car payment. You know what I'm saying? So if you think, okay, $400 a month now, and then how much in groceries? Well, you're probably spending if it's just two people, $400, $600 a month in groceries, maybe even more.
Yeah.
You know, so when you start taking away those numbers plus the taxes and stuff, what are you really left with to live? You're not really living. You're just trying to survive at that point, you know? And I think that's where people kind of get it twisted, right? So then they think, oh, this person's taking advantage. No, they need the help, right? Because it's hard. And I remember being there. I remember having my bank account insufficient. I remember not being able to pay my car. You know, I remember all those feelings. I remember I used to I figured out a system to get gas in my car. I remember this. So I needed to get my credit card below $1 because when you put your credit card in the gas station, it only transacts $1 so that you can pour gas. But it'll let you pour forever because it's a credit card. They don't know what's on the balance. So I used to pay just enough to get my credit card right below so I could stick my card in and go get gas so I could go figure out a way to make money. And so, you know, and I did all this stuff, and I remember the frustration. I remember the aggravation, you know, and the stress and all that stuff, you know, and now I take it and I learn from it. And now how do I adapt, right? And use this knowledge that I've gained over this time to just be more and more successful every year, right? Every year I've increased. I have never gone backwards. And even if I did, that's okay. You know, it doesn't matter. It's just the big picture needs to always be one step better. One step better. And that's the thing is like, you know, I had a lot of people tell me, and well, it's funny because when I moved to Naples, everybody was like, oh, you're crazy. What are you going to do? Retire? Oh, that's such a dumb idea. There's nothing to do. It
was from Miami though, wasn't it? Yeah. Miami's crazy.
I mean, it's like...
It's fun, but it's crazy.
Yeah, I try to avoid it as much as possible. But, yeah.
It smells like lipstick and mistakes.
And tequila. It's rough, man. Like, it's just another world, really. I think they're like their own country. You know?
Oh, yeah.
Like, when you get to Miami, it's like another country.
There's a saying, it's like, Florida... What is it? Florida looks to Miami like how America looks at Florida. Like how the rest of the world looks at America.
That's probably true. But yeah, I mean, I remember, you know, saying I was going to move and everyone's like, you're nuts. But when I got my house, everyone was always over my house.
Oh, it's always
what a nice house. Oh, yeah.
You're crazy until you're not.
Yeah. And that's the thing is you got
I always believed in him.
Yeah. I knew he was going to do it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. And it's the same thing when I sold the house. Oh, you guys are crazy. Oh my God, you're going to give up your house. You know, and my house was $1,500 a month. I mean, it was a piece of cake. It was like 2.3% interest. It was a joke. It was a joke of a loan, right? It was like free.
That's a great loan.
Yeah, it was great. And my wife, man, that credit, man, that's the thing. When marry with good credit. Yeah. You know, they always say marry for money. No, marry for good credit.
Yeah. I actually thankfully, I got, what is it? Grandfathered in.
Oh yeah, because you had to get your credit thing situated here.
Because like my usage is at 8%. My utilization, whatever it is, I only use like 8% of our credit.
Yeah.
Because basically money comes in, I pay it off straight away.
Yeah.
And so I think my credit rating is like 780.
That's
something
awesome.
Like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But that's where you need to be.
Yeah.
Credit is the name of the game. And that's the thing is my wife understood that, man, and she took care of her credit. And you know, I was the delinquent. So, you know, I'm just thankful she chose me. But, you know, she was able to have this position so that we could get into the door of this house, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we had to make the ultimate decision of letting it go, right? So that's a sacrifice to have a home, right? And then everybody tell you, oh, that's the wrong thing to do to get rid of your primary residence.
Because people struggle to understand a step back. Because my father-in-law was talking about it as well with his when the next massive step for their business was when they basically remortgaged the home. Everyone was like, you're a fucking idiot, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I mean, the business went poof because he had all that extra cash flow to work with. But again, same thing. Everyone was saying, you're an idiot. What are you doing? You don't do that.
It comes down to your risk management.
Yeah.
That's bottom line. How much, and I heard actually, I think there was like a video that went viral of like Trump talking about like success. He was at like a business meeting type thing, like a thing.
I think so.
And he talks about, he said, the thing that I've noticed across a lot of successful people is that they have the ability to deal with pressure. And I take that, you know, to heart, because going back to like, you know, not having money and things and being low on cash and all that, you have a lot of stress, right? And if you're not able to overcome that stress, you know, and it's going to happen at every stage. It doesn't matter if you have $0 or $1 million. Mm-hmm. You're going to have new levels of stress, right? And I think that's what people don't understand.
Yeah.
You know, I'm probably just as stressed, if not more, than when I didn't have anything.
Yeah.
You know, just because there's more to lose now, right? You know, when you don't have anything to lose, it's fine.
And you're also responsible for people's jobs. Like there's all these other things that you know, it's the same as when you have a family. It's like, oh fuck, I need to make sure they can be fed. Yeah. But it's the same when you got employees, because like, well, I got to
feed their families,
you know, and pay their rent and
it's hard, and it's a lot of stress, and it's fine. You know, it's fine. You just deal with it, but. That's the thing is like you learn to deal with pressure, and if you can deal with pressure, then you'll go a long way. Yeah, it's just how long you could deal with that pressure for.
That is true,
because everybody has a breaking point, right? I don't think everybody is meant to be a business person. Not everybody, like this whole phase of entrepreneur nonsense, that's gonna die. Yeah, because for the most part, you know, there's going to be a lot of people that they can't afford to continue, and they're going to have to tap out, unfortunately. And that's why they say, oh, the graveyard is where all the ideas die and stuff. And it's true. Because if you think about it, if you put it in perspective, thank God, you know, I had a family that could help me out where I could need help and stuff. And you know, me and my wife, when we needed help, you know, we were able to get help. You know, same situation, you know, you got help with the housing.
It's affordable housing.
So whenever you get those advantages, you need to take them. But you got to also think and be grateful and privileged for that, because there's a kid that's trying to make it, that his dad's a degenerate. His mom is not available to him. He has no family, no one to look out for him or her, and they're trying to make it on their own. And they're going to be at a point where if the business doesn't succeed, I'm going to have to get a job because I got to live. Yeah. And that's where it dies, because you get into comfortability. I have a check coming in and everything is just going to come in and I'm going to be okay and whatever. And that's where things die, you know? So, you know, I'm grateful to be able to do what I do, and I love what I do, and you know, and I don't have to go and show up for a job that I don't like and stuff like that. But I also tell people the truth, that I deal with a lot of stress. I deal with a lot of pressure. You know, it's not always sunshines and roses. The crazy part about entrepreneurship is I can make 50K, 100K in a month, but I can also make zero. Yeah. So people kind of forget about that, you know? Yeah.
And that, because I get that with Stace a lot. Like, you know, 1 month I'm like, hey, I brought in 10 grand. And she's like, awesome, can we move out? I'm like, no. You know?
No.
I said to her,
are you nuts?
Yeah. I'm like, she goes, so you're making 10 grand a month? I'm like, no, I make 10 grand that month.
Yeah.
You know? And because then, for example, this month, I invested a shitload. I just spent another $4 grand on a fucking computer. you know? And I go to her, I'm like, hey, just so you know, this month we went backwards on paper. But I'm like, I'm getting all these people following me. Like, again, intangible assets, connections, meeting people, conversations, you know, content, all these things that I'm coming, I'm like, you know, but this is why we can't just at the moment just be like, all right, let's go out and let's get a $2,000 a month rent. I'm like, fuck no, I'm putting that into the podcast and my content strategy. You know?
Listen,
Like,
I'm in the same position. And it's just a woman thing, being a mother too. You know, she's a new mother, so she's got to protect the cub, right?
Yeah.
So
and she's got I want more money for Stace so that I can be like, hey, go out and do things. Like that's the biggest guilt that is raising me at the moment.
Right.
Like I don't care that we live at the vacation home. I don't care about any of that stuff. The only thing I care about is like, I know how happy is she when she gets out of the house. Right. That I'm like, hey, go and find stuff
to do
and find people, like find mums here, find some things. Cause I'm like, you're the major thing of misery that is getting her right now is that she is at home alone with a 7-month-old. And she's like, her portal out of that is the phone. Right. I'm like, you've got to get out. Yeah. And I'm like, fuck people. If Santa's crying in public, who gives a shit?
Yeah, no one cares.
Go in the car, you know, calm her down, whatever. But like, fuck everyone else.
Yeah, bring her to my house. She can play with Benji.
Yes, you're right.
They'll wear each other out. Hopefully, I don't think that's possible with Benji,
but yeah, and like so that's why I know that I think she's trying to seek salvation in our own place, and yes, it'll be so bit different. Yeah. And if we lived with the in-laws, it'd be very different. I'd be like, let's get the fuck out. But they're back up in West Virginia now, so I'm like, look, it's our home, you deal with quotations. It. Yeah. And I'm saying deal with it. Like it's a great way to deal with. You know?
Of course.
But that's the thing where, especially again, I'm only 11 months into moving here. Not just starting a hustle. It's like fucking, I don't know anyone when I moved here.
Yeah.
Compared to now.
I remember when you told me that, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
You know, let alone it's hard to start a business in a year, let alone you come to the country and try to start a business in a year. Like it's a battle, you know, and like I said, we deal with the same thing, right? And it's going back to that woman intuition, motherly love thing, right? So my wife is always on me, right? And there's months, same thing. Hey, babe, I brought in 20, and she'll bring in 20 or whatever, you know, and then like there'll be a month. Oh, hey, babe, nothing came in this month.
Yep.
You know, and we're actually dishing out money because of the investments, and she'll get nervous, right? Which is fine, right? You got to deal with that, and you have to respect it, right? And you know, the thing is I try to convert the feeling, right? So what I try to tell her all the time is like, dude, we need to be grateful, right? We don't have a job. We don't have bosses. We do what we want when we want. We have, you know, money invested in houses and Amazon stores and stock portfolios and crypto, and we have savings, and, you know, we have a nice place to live. We have nice cars. Like, you know, no, I don't drive a Ferrari, but I have a nice car, you know, for me, if it's what I like, you know, and that's what matters. And that's the thing is like, you know, you got to be okay with entrepreneurship, not making any money a month. Yeah. You know, it's just a reality. And it doesn't matter how many years in business you are, you know, I know people who make millions of dollars and then during COVID, they didn't make anything. Yeah. But they were prepared. They had savings. They kept their expenses low. So of course it didn't affect them like other people affected them. Yeah. And that's the thing. It's you know, a lot of people think this is checkers, and it's not. It's chess. Yeah. And that's the difference. You know, and it never ends. And I remember this one guy told me when I was super young, he said, no income is forever if you're an entrepreneur. No income's forever. And I started getting, I was like, what does that even mean? Like, right? But now as I'm older, I'm like, it's true. Like, I can make 10 this month and 0 next. And then I can make 50, or I can make another 0, you know? Yeah. So I think that the habit is why we see a lot of failure is that you'll have somebody make 10 grand in a month, right? And go do that. Oh, now I can go get an apartment. Yeah. Oh no, now I could get a new car. Oh, I could go get this watch that I want. Oh, I could go get this. Oh, I could go get that. and they start buying ahead of themselves, right?
Yeah.
Without even realizing, because they're expecting next month I'm going to make 10 or I'm going to make 15.
Yeah.
And it doesn't come.
It doesn't. And that's why it's like now everything I invest is directed towards time. So the reason I ended up dishing out 4K for a computer was I just need something badass quick, because right now I know that every podcast that I edit, it's taking twice as long as it should be.
Really?
Yeah. Just because the computer, my laptop is, it was a beast 4 years ago, but now it's like, it's fucking full. It hasn't got much availability of space yet. And I'm like,
Right.
So it's all those little things of like an extra 4 seconds, 5 seconds, or like I press, stop to go back and do a marker for a clip. And I'm like, all right. And then it's like, it's thinking for fucking 20 seconds versus I just want to be like bang, 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 bang. So I was like, all right, this is like $4,000 for a computer and I'll have a dual monitor as well. But if every podcast I'm buying back an hour and a half of my time, because instead of doing 3 hours, I can do it in an hour and a half because I can just watch this double time and then edit. I'm like, dude, I'm buying back 3 hours a week. Minimum.
Wow.
Minimum. And so I'm like, all right, I need to do that. And then also when I'm editing for clients, some videos are taking fucking twice as long. So I'm like, the first week I basically am buying back like 5 hours.
Really?
So I was like, all right, that's how I'm going to invest. I can't justify it if I look just on paper, because it's like, you don't have $4,000 to spend. I'm like,
no.
I have 5 hours to gain though a week.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is like, so for Builder Trend, I pay like $3 something a month, right?
Mm.
So that's the thing is like when I charge something, you got to remember I got business insurance, general liability, I got all these fancy little apps to make the consumer experience better. So Builder Trend, I pay like 300 something bucks a month, and I remember I always recommend it to everybody in my field, right? And I remember telling one guy, and he's like, 300 bucks a month, that's too much money.
Mm.
I'm like, dude, if you can't invest $300 a month in your business, I was like, you got bigger problems. Like huge problems. Like, because the reality is if you don't invest in yourself, especially when you have zero, you're not going to win.
Yeah.
Because
you want to invest when you have the 100,000.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way.
Why would I? That's silly. Sorry, we're gonna wrap it up. I'm gonna probably be getting the red flag from these guys soon.
Alrighty.
It's been 2.5 hours.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Jesus Christ.
Time flies, baby. All right. So if anyone's still listening, Julian, where can they reach you? If you want them to reach you.
Yeah. So they can reach me personally on Instagram at Julian M. Fortunato. Mm-hmm. Or the construction company is Fortunato Construction. So they have that. And then that has my phone number, email, all that.
All that stuff. And that'll also be in the description too if you're listening to Spotify or YouTube. So guys, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification so you don't miss anything. And we'll be back with more cool people in the area. Bye. See you, everyone. 2.5 hours, baby.
Jesus. It didn't even feel like 2.5 hours.